Stanford took care of business, Wes, yesterday. This is an enormous game for Arizona trying to fight their way into the Pac-12 tournament.
Well, it really is, for one reason, because last year, the Pac-12 tournament, which is just 10 days away from us now, they took 8 teams. This year, they added an additional 9th team, and right now, the Cats are fighting that 9th spot out with Washington State. Now, California has now jumped both Washington State and Arizona into the 8-hole.
So Cal with a win over Washington State yesterday. There you see Stanford winning the Pac-12 title, clinching it yesterday. And Stanford will be the #1 seed at the Pac-12 tournament in less than a week and a half in Scottsdale. But Arizona, Wildcats couldn't muster up much. They did get a couple of solo homers against Stanford yesterday in the 9-2 Cardinal win.
Well, they did. Unfortunately for the Cats, the Cardinal ended up leaving the yard 4 times yesterday, and as they put up 9 runs, and as you mentioned, clinched the Pac-12 championship yesterday, and just on a beautiful day, and we have another beautiful Mother's Day, right?
Stanford, you see the long balls, all the 2-run homers yesterday. They lead the Pac-12, 86 home runs, and there is so much thump in the Stanford lineup. It's been tough to contain, not just for Arizona, but the Pac-12 this year, as the Cardinal, again, have already wrapped up the conference title. Back-to-back Pac-12 championships for David Esker's club. Joey Dixon yesterday won a season best, 6 1/3 innings, while Braden Zastro pitched decently for Arizona, but didn't get much support against Dixon, who was fantastic for Stanford. Yesterday, our pitching matchup today. To wrap up this series, it'll be Aiden May for the Wildcats, and for the Cardinal, Nick Dugan enters the rotation on this Sunday afternoon on Mother's Day, making the start for the Stanford Cardinal. Finale of this series and the home finale. A gorgeous Sunday, approaching afternoon, just slightly went past noon, so it is technically afternoon now here in the Bay Area. Pac-12 baseball presented by Rawlings. Champions choose Rawlings. The Pac-12 champions, 2-time Pac-12 champs, now the Stanford Cardinal and the Arizona Wildcats, wrapping up this 3-game series here at Sunken Diamond, sun-splashed Sunken Diamond, I should say, on this Mother's Day Sunday.
More splashed on me than you in this booth.
I know how to hide.
Yeah.
I know how to stay away from the sun.
It's uncanny how you end up always in the shade, and I'm in the blazing heat.
It's not blazing heat today. It's in the mid-70s today. Stop it.
You know what?
Stop
me
whining.
Right now, I'm not whining.
You're whining.
No, I'm not. There's more sun here than on me. You have no sun on you.
As of right now. Let's get to the starting lineup.
Okay, let's do it.
We're
Let's roll.
bickering here. The Arizona Wildcats starting lineup presented by the Graduate Hotels. And for Chip Hale and Arizona in this critical game, look, they need a win desperately. There's 4 games remaining in league play for Arizona, and right now, when you look at the Pac-12 standings, the Wildcats are on the outside looking in. They need a win here today. They have a lineup that is as impressive as anybody in college baseball as they lead the Pac-12 in hitting.
They do. They lead the Pac-12 in hitting. They lead the Pac-12 in runs. They lead the Pac-12 in extra base hits. They have had this offense on display the majority of the season, obviously. They have struggled on the mound, although the ERA would tell you they really haven't, because your team ERA is a little bit better than Stanford's as we speak. But it's just been some bad pitches at the wrong time. We take a look at this freshman Nick Dugan right here. No record, 8.17 ERA, just 39 2/3. 23 walks has been the issue with Nick, as it has been with the entire staff of the Cardinal.
Great strikeout numbers for Dugan, the native of Eureka, way up in Northern California. He's worked 39 2/3 innings this season, and Stanford looking for somebody to step up in this role. They were giving Matt Scott a weekend off from starting, let him take a breath, regroup, heading toward the final series of the regular season against Washington State for Stanford on the road next year, or next week, I should say. And then Pac-12 tournament looming after that. So Nick Dugan will make the start here for Stanford today, and being given an opportunity. And Thomas Eager, Stanford's pitching coach, is looking toward the postseason for some guys to step up and give them opportunities. They're going to need depth in the rotation, especially to get through regional. And Dugan's got a big opportunity here today. And Mac Bingham lines the first pitch into left. And a base hit on the first pitch of the ball game, and that is how our ball game begins.
And the Arizona offense stays consistent, right? It's no different than the Stanford offense. They're number 2 in the conference. But what do, Roxy? They get in the box ready to what? Swing. On pitch 1, a line drive base hit. That's just who these two teams are.
So much for a get-me-over fastball to start the day.
No. The days of make him throw are over. The ball's anywhere close to the middle of the plate, Wildcats are going to hack. So are the Cardinal.
Nick McClary, the Arizona shortstop, takes ball 1. As McClary 0 for 3 yesterday, 3 for 7 in this series. And he had that dramatic steal of home plate in the 8th inning Friday night, a straight steal of home to tie the game.
If you missed it, folks, it was just beautiful. In the 8th inning that tied the game.
There's a ball drilled out toward left center, racing back. Alberto Rios looks up and bangs off the wall. Caroms to Eddie Park, who spins and fires it in. And McClary doubles off the wall, and a great start for the Wildcats.
Yeah, McClary gets a fastball from Dugan, and it's central right down Broadway. And we talked about the aggressiveness of this Arizona offense, and McClary not known for his power, but today he says, you know what, I'm going to go off the left center wall. He almost left the yard here. Second and third, great situation. Chase Davis coming up to the dish.
He turned around 90 and put it off the wall in left center. Chase Davis 2 in scoring position, and he takes Hideaway ball 1. 367, 16 homers. Chase Davis, second in the Pac-12 in homers. Just 1 for 8, though, in this series. Last year finished honorable mention all Pac-12 with 18 home runs, and off the end of the bat taps that foul. And the Arizona coaches were laying into Wes Clements pregame as they were blaming Wes for snapping the 59-game streak of Chase Davis reaching base consecutively heading into this series, and it ended Friday night after Wes brought it up around the batting cage on Friday.
Twitter, there's no question now you've just unloaded my Twitter right now. They're going to blast me. And I think
they're going to kick you out of the Arizona Hall of Fame.
I admit it. I did say that, and but I just don't believe in superstition and on jinx and stuff like that. With the exception, and the dugouts guys got a no-no to stay away from him. That's the only one.
3-1 on Davis.
But they can blame it on me. They all did, basically. It's not they can. I went down for the game.
Oh, David Lawn, Arizona's pitching coach, was wearing you out.
Well, Chip, hey, he wasn't any. How you doing? Nice going.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
He did it subtly. As Davis cranks one to right field, forget it. That ball is destroyed. Chase Davis, and a 3-run shot for the Cats.
Home run. Chase Davis has his 7th home run of the season.
Number 17 for Chase Davis, an absolute no doubter, and draws an early visit from Cardinal pitching coach Thomas Eager.
Well, on a Mother's Day, I mean, you got to love this, right? Chase Davis, the family, Mrs. Davis, the long home run. I will say this, if you followed Chase this year, when he hits a home run, Roxy, they're not cheap. And when I mean cheap, there's no such thing as a cheap home run, but when he hits them, they're blasts. And this was a blast.
That ball traveled 410 feet. Unless you love it, the exit velocity was over 100 miles an hour.
No, I really don't. You got to look here. This is McClary on the double to left center, who sets up the aforementioned home run by Chase. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
I did. You give me you know what? You scare me because you looked at me like you give me a look like, how did you pull that off? Or it's either that or I was wrong.
Single, double, homer, 3-0 Cats. Still nobody out. And the cleanup batter, Kiko Romero, will dig in for Arizona. Leads the Pac-12, 68 batted in this year, hitting .354. Romero, like Davis, has struggled in this series. 0 for 3 yesterday, just 1 for 8 with a double. As Nick Dugan will try to settle in, and he spikes the fastball.
Well, the Cats did score 8 runs in Game 1 against one of the best in the entire country in Quinn Matthews, right? They put up 8 on the board on Friday night. Yesterday, Joey Dixon was sensational for the Cardinal to limit the Cats to just 2 runs. But today, I mean, Nick Dugan has struggled. I mean, you look at his numbers, he has struggled. He's got a tremendous changeup, but it's been his command.
1-2 the count.
There's that changeup right there. I saw him early. I went over and saw the Cardinal series against Cal State Fullerton way back in February. And I saw this youngster throwing, and I went, who is that? Because his changeup is so good. He's going to be a good one. Pay no attention to his numbers this year, Cardinal fan. He's going to be a good one. As is
when
Matt
he figures
Scott.
it out.
Yeah, as is Matt Scott. He's already been good as Matt Scott. He just needs to get back to where he was.
1-2 to Kiko Romero, and just gets a piece of it, unable to hang on. The catcher Malcolm Moore will do it again. A ball and 2 strikes on Romero here. So an early lead for Arizona. Already Washington is looking for a sweep at Oregon. And the Huskies, Jason Kelly's team is playing fabulous right now. And they're already leading at Oregon 1-0 on a homer by Cam Clayton to start the day.
Last 2 weeks of college baseball is the best 2 weeks of the game.
It's fought off by Romero.
The volatility is amazing, right? It's up and down, and there's hosts. And right now, folks, there's a committee out there watching all games at all times right now. With how many TVs you think, Roxy? 50? 100? Because in a couple weeks, they're going to pick 64 teams to get in the postseason. They're also going to pick 16 hosting sites, and they're going to pick 8 national seeds.
2-2 to Romero. Got him.
There's that good changeup right there. That's really good changeup. Big out for Dugan. Punching out one of the best in the Pac-12 and hitting. Romero leads the Pac-12 in RBIs. Watch this thing. The bottom just drops right out. I mean, that's beautiful. So when you see that, Roxy, you look at the future and you're going, wow.
If you can harness that. Emilio Corona, the Arizona right fielder, 324 with 7 home runs. First out recorded by Dugan. Just misses off the outside to Corona. 1 for 4 yesterday. Emilio Corona just 1 for 9 in this series.
A couple weekends ago, I mean, he did something I don't know how many people have ever done in the Pac, but he left the yard.
Fooled him there.
3 times up at Oregon State. 2 home runs. 2 of them put the Cats up temporarily at the time.
We mentioned what's going on in Eugene. Keep an eye on the other games in the conference. Oregon State, they've split the first 2 with UCLA at Jackie Robinson Stadium this weekend down in LA. And they're just getting going. The Beavers and the Bruins in the rubber game of that series as Dugan gets the call. And it's 2-2 on Corona. Pivotal game for both there in Los Angeles. It's Ethan Flanagan, the lefty, going for UCLA today. Dugan, the turn, the 2-2 to Corona. That ball is skied, pushing foul behind first, and this one will get out of play.
This is going to be a fun day for us because, the committee's watching, right? And so we're going to talk to them directly the whole day and tell them about the Pac-12 and what we think.
USC, Arizona State, they'll start about an hour from now at Dato Field.
Huge, huge game for the Trojans. And ASU, for that matter.
It's USC looking for the sweep on Arizona State. That one flagged down by Tommy Troy. Across to Carter Graham at first, 2 outs.
If ASU does not somehow win this game today, that'll be 6 straight losses for ASU in the Pac. This Cardinal went to Tempe last weekend.
And UCLA will go to Tempe next weekend.
And SC goes to play these Arizona Wildcats in Tucson.
Also starting in less than an hour over at Cal, the rubber game between Washington State and the Golden Bears, which is pivotal for both teams. And Arizona has a lot of interest in that game as well, as Mason Waidu launched a long home run yesterday. As the freshman has hit 5 homers, hitting up over 300 this year for Chip Hale in Arizona. Chase Davis, a 3-run homer. And the Cats are on the board early against Nick Dugan and Stanford. That one just missed.
Well, and then Arizona, prior to going back to Tucson, don't they make a stop at UC Irvine?
Non-conference game tomorrow against the Anteaters.
And I would say it's really big for the Anteaters, right?
3-0 on white, because let's face it, the only way that Arizona will get into the field now, even after the great start they had, the win over Tennessee early, Arizona's got to win the Pac-12 tournament to get in.
Get to the final. Their RPI is actually,
that's true.
It qualifies, right? So if they get to the final, their RPI is going to go soaring up to the mid-40s, guarantee it.
And non-conference game, Cal Poly's put 3 runs on the board in the first in Salt Lake City against Utah. To round out the schedule, and that one, another changeup, Mason White out front. And you mentioned the RPI. There are 10 Pac-12 schools in the top 85 of the RPI. Got him battling back. Dugan gets the strikeout, so after Chase Davis launched a 3-run homer, he gets 1, 2, 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Stanford coming to bat. Here come the Cardinal on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, Mother's Day on the farm. Chase Davis, a 3-run homer, giving Arizona the early lead. And on the mound for the Wildcats, Aiden May will deal with his Stanford lineup today, and presented by the Graduate Hotels. The only change, the DH, Henry Gargis, is senior on senior day, getting the opportunity in the starting lineup. But everything else the same for David Esker and the senior Owen Cobb in the 9th spot in the order. Stanford leads the Pac-12 in homers. They hit 4 2-run homers yesterday.
They do, and quite frankly, the second half of the season, that's what Stanford does, don't they, Roxy? They hit home runs. They hit, what, 72 in the last 27 games last year, or something like that?
And all 4 of them were no-doubters yesterday. As you look at Aiden May, he's been consistent in the rotation this weekend for the Wildcats. And the sophomore from Albuquerque.
You see
in this
go ahead.
Critical game for Arizona.
It is. You see the 23 walks, and when you go through the Arizona Wildcats pitching stats, and you go, okay, they give up a little bit more hits than innings, but they give up the second least amount of walks in the conference behind UCLA, Roxy. So they don't walk anybody. Much different than the Cardinal, who are 10th. They have the 10th most in the conference. I don't know how to explain it. When you look at the numbers for Arizona, they just don't match up with the offense they had, the team ERA. It's over 5, and for many years you'd go, well, that's just a bad ERA. Well, go around the country, folks, and Dave Lawn's going to go out and, I thought he was going to go out and talk. He got the foul ball, but
that one seemed to cross up the catcher there, Tommy Splain. 2-0 on Eddie Park. Who takes strike 1.
But what I was going to say, if you check the team ERA of the top 50 teams in the country, majority of them are in the 5s. And that includes LSU behind their #1 starter.
Rolled foul by Eddie Park. 1 for 4, scored a couple of runs yesterday. Is Park 2 for 8 in this series. Hitting .332 overall, but in conference play, Eddie Park batting .348. And he takes it just down and in from Aiden May, and the count is run full, and Park leading it off for the Cardinal.
And Eddie is a stalwart in this lineup. Tremendous leadoff hitter. He makes contact, does not strike out.
And he draws a walk. So after Arizona got 3 in the top of the inning, Stanford looking to come right back and a leadoff base runner.
And again, if you're in the Wildcats dugout now, that's the worst thing that could have happened, right? Is a walk. A base hit, you're okay with, right? But after you put 3 on the board like that leadoff hitter walk is the worst thing that can happen.
Here is Tommy Troy. .383, 11 homers for the Stanford third baseman. Troy 2 for 5, homered yesterday. And Troy is 4 for 9 in this series. He's hit in 9 of the last 10 games for Stanford. He has scored a run in 8 consecutive games, and the reigning Pac-12 Player of the Week.
Who has not hit for this Cardinal lineup in the last 3 weeks?
Just guys that haven't been in the game.
That's about it.
2-0 on Troy is May having trouble locating.
And if you're expecting Tommy Troy to take on a 2-0 count after a walk to Eddie Park, don't expect it. Just down the middle, he's going to swing.
And it's ball 3 as the runner bluffs going. Eddie Park at first base. So Tommy Troy, who is 4th in the Pac-12 in hitting, 8th in runs scored, 7th in hits, 10th in on-base percentage. And he looks at strike 1 at the knees.
It's a good running situation. It doesn't matter. There's no outs right here, but 3-1 count. If it's a strike, Troy's going to be swinging.
And he hits a bullet, speared it short. Nice play. Nick McClary. And the relay throw gets away from the first baseman, Kiko Romero. Taking off for second is Troy. But what a play again by Nick McClary. We talked about it yesterday. Nick McClary, to me, far and away should be the leader for Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. That's another example on why he's so valuable for Arizona and his pitching staff, and showing you his abilities at shortstop.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you at all. I mean, folks, McClary makes this difficult play look easy. I mean, just a tremendous feed over to Mason White, and I'm not quite sure what happened on the back end with Kiko Romero. And Kiko has been tremendous at first base, by the way. I mean, this Wildcat defense is 3rd in the pack.
So the out recorded as the runner goes, bouncer to short. There is McClary, has no play on the runner and throws out Carter Graham as Tommy Troy was taken off on his former high school teammate, the catcher for Arizona, Tommy Splain. Gets to third, there's 2 away.
You know what McClary is? He's that player when you look at him, right? Because you look at his stature. I mean, he's not a big kid, right? He's not a power guy, although he just almost left the yard, ball off the wall. But when you sit down and you watch the 2 plays that just happened, he's if you're a baseball fan, you go, who's that shortstop? Because that's what he makes you think. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that guy?
Braden Montgomery takes strike 1.
And Brayton, in February and March, he was arguably the best hitter in the country. Went through 30 games where he hit around 270. Boy, has he turned it up the last 3 days.
Late on a fastball. 2 for 4 with a homer yesterday. He's homered twice, driven in 6 in this series, and riding a 5-game hitting streak. In fact, Montgomery's homered in 3 straight games. Last year's Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. And he takes way inside. 1-2 on Montgomery, 2 outs. Tommy Troy, the runner, at third. The error charged to the second baseman, Mason White. The overshift on. White is out in shallow right. McClary's over on the right side of the diamond as Montgomery takes high, ball 2.
Was be a big get by Aiden May if he can get out of this mess after a leadoff walk. 3-1 count on Tommy Troy. If he can get out of this inning, put up a 0.
And that one hit him. Montgomery trying to jackknife out of the way, and it just clipped him going by. And Stanford's got runners at the corners for Alberto Rios, who's 3rd in the Pac-12 in hitting.
Well, I know the pitch hit him, but if you're just looking at what's coming out of Aiden May's hand and arm, this slider is arguably nasty. It is a hard biting slider. I mean, he can get it up to 93, 94 at times.
Runners at the corners. Rios, 387, 13 homers, lines it to left, over toward the corner, gets down for a hit. Tommy Troy is in, hustling over to third. Goes Montgomery, and Alberto Rios pulls it into left for an RBI single. Stanford's on the board, and now a 12-game hitting streak for Rios.
Well, Tommy Splain is going to go out and talk to Aiden May, and I'm sure he's going to talk about location and/or that was not the pitch we wanted, one of the two. But the one thing, if you're going to pitch against this Cardinal lineup, you have to locate very well on pitch 1 because they are ready to swing right off the bat. And this kid here, was on nobody's map when the season started. Speaking of Rios, wasn't even slated to be an everyday player. He's on everybody's map now.
Runners in the corners, 2 down. Malcolm Moore, the freshman catcher, 286 with 10 homers, including a long one yesterday.
And of course, he had the walk-off sacrifice fly after in game 1, that amazing baseball game on Friday night. If you missed it, amazing. 8-8, and then the walk-off by Malcolm Moore, sac fly.
Fouls it off at home plate. He's got a modest 5-game hitting streak going.
Number 1 catching recruit in the country was Malcolm Moore. Did something as a junior in high school, Roxy. Is amazing, right?
You can say it. Go ahead.
No,
I know you want to say
I threw it to you.
2-time California High School Gatorade Player of the Year, including as a junior, and he bullets that one into the right field corner. Montgomery is in. Alberto Rios being held at third as Malcolm Moore rips a double to right. And it's 3-2 Arizona.
Now Dave Lawn's going to go out and talk to Aiden May. It's just good hitting. It really wasn't a bad pitch. It's down and in. And how many decades has down and in been the hot zone? Right? They always say don't throw left-handers down and in, ever, right?
Well, that's where the pitch was yesterday when he launched one well over the wall and right.
We'll get a look at this. Where was this pitch? Actually, it's kind of more middle, but it's middle in, and these kids can swing the pole. But yeah, Malcolm Moore winning the Player of the Year in high school in California.
As a junior.
Wow.
And then won it again as a senior is David Lawn, the veteran pitching coach for the Wildcats. Back to the third base dugout.
Great man, has been a coach at Cal, somebody at a school you're very fond of, and the USC Trojans.
And also worked briefly at Cal State Fullerton in a off-field role.
Didn't he work with Mark Pryor?
Called strike, he did. Called strike to Drew Bowser. 289, the average climbing for Bowser with 9 homers. Bowser is hit in 11 in a row. The average has jumped from 248 to 289 as he waves at that one.
Look at that. I mean, you see the pitch from Aiden May, what comes out of his hand. And again, this is what happens with pitchers, right? You'll see why they're on a D1 baseball team. It's the consistency that separates them.
And he strikes him out on 3 pitches to get out of it. But Stanford gets 2 back. RBIs for Rios and Moore. We're through 1 on the farm. Cats up 3-2.
On Pac-12 Network.
Heading to the second, 3-2 Arizona. Chase Davis, a 3-run homer for the Wildcats. Stanford battling back, getting a pair against Aiden May. It'll be the bottom of the order for Chip Hale and U of A. In the second, Tony Bullard, Tommy Splain, Garen Caulfield, and Nick Dugan, who went single-double homer to start his day, then got the Cats 1-2-3. Let's see how he fares here in the second. Maybe he can settle in. Tony Bullard, 298 homers for the Arizona third baseman. Senior from Riverside, and he chops one to third. Up the ladder goes Tommy Troy. 1 pitch takes care of Tony Bullard. And there's out number 1. Tommy Splain, 310 for the Arizona catcher. As Splain, the sophomore from Los Gatos, right up the road by about 25 minutes from Stanford.
Everything's 25 minutes from here.
That's not true.
Every time you tell me to meet you somewhere, I said, it's got to be far. No, it's not far. How far? 25 minutes. 25 minutes. 20.
Splain 1 for 5 on Friday, scored a run. Did not get in the game yesterday. Takes in the dirt, 1 ball, 1 strike.
I'll give you credit for breakfast 2 days ago. Stacks was very good.
Burlingame, yeah. Which is about 25 minutes away.
Thank you.
Just missed with a breaking ball, Dugan, 2-1.
See what I got to deal with, folks? Jeez.
Redwood City's only 10 minutes away. 2-1 to Tommy Splain. And now it's 3 balls and a strike on the Arizona catcher. Again, he was in there Friday. Yesterday was Cameron Laliberte behind the plate. Laliberte hit his first career home run for Arizona yesterday. 3-1 from Nick Dugan. And Splain draws a 1-out walk. And a base runner for the Wildcats to get Garen Caulfield, the DH, to home plate.
Designated hitter Garen Caulfield.
238, 4 homers for Caulfield. Started Friday, pinch hit yesterday in the game. 1 for 5 with an RBI in this series. Caulfield last year was on the all-tournament team at the Pac-12 tournament in Scottsdale, where Stanford eliminated Arizona.
You know, we talk about Arizona, how important it is for them because they obviously want to be that 9th team to qualify for the tournament. Yes, the Cardinal won the Pac-12 championship yesterday, but there's a lot for them to play for. Every game from now up at Wazoo, Washington State next weekend.
Skied by Caulfield, shallow left, going out. The shortstop Owen Cobb getting called off by Alberto Rios coming in.
That's some beautiful fundamentals right there. Owen Cobb just going as hard as he can. Infielder's job is to go as hard as you can for every ball that's in the air until you are called off, and that's exactly what Alberto Rios did, and then Owen Cobb just gave way. But the Cardinal, they're going to host. We know they're going to be one of the top 16. What they're after is a top 8 national seed. And if you're a top 8 national seed, if you win your regional, you will host your super.
Called strike to Mac Bingham, who singled on the first pitch of the ball game. Bingham 4 for 7 in this series. He has scored 3 runs. The senior who led the Pac-12 in triples last year. And it just missed for Nick Dugan. 1 ball, 1 strike as Bingham drafted in the 40th round out of high school by the Cubs. And the senior from San Diego.
It's kind of nice there.
Junior,
too.
I should say. Bingham.
He'll get drafted again. The question is, does he want to play or come back and play a senior year? I mean, it's so tough when you're in college because you dream, obviously, about playing pro baseball. And when you're eligible, I remember the first time I got drafted, it was amazing, right?
Was it by the military?
You know what?
Tried to hold up, and he went around. Strike 3 on Bingham.
We'll get to that on the when we come back.
3 strikeouts for Nick Dugan. 3-2 Arizona to the last of the second.
I know.
(3-2) Arizona. As we go to the bottom of the second, senior day, the regular season finale on Graduate Hotels. Great moment was the pregame ceremony on the home finale, I should say, as Stanford will be on the road next week to wrap up regular season play. But the Stanford seniors honored pregame on the field with their families and, of course, Mom on Mother's Day, and a bunch of their teammates as well, presenting them with their jerseys. And a terrific ceremony pregame here at Sunken Diamond.
It's are you shocked that on a Mother's Day it's a beautiful, beautiful day?
Not a cloud in the sky.
I mean, we're
mid-70s temperatures. Henry Gargis, the senior, gets into the lineup today on senior day. He's had limited opportunities this year. Gargis takes ball 1 as Gargis from Yakima, Washington, hitting only a .05 with a home run. And he fouls it off as Gargis hasn't played in a game since April 22nd against Washington, and his last start over 2 months ago in a game against Bakersfield. His only homer this year against UOP on March 1st.
And I guarantee David Esker told him last night, hey, you're in there tomorrow. I mean, just because, again, you can guess if you're a senior, I might be in there tomorrow on senior day. But I guarantee you, David Esker told him, hey, you're in there tomorrow. What staffs on both sides here? I mean, it's just, these are 2 tremendously coached baseball teams.
2-2 on Henry Gargis. Aiden May the pitch, and he strikes him out. Good action on that one. 94 for May, second strikeout for the Arizona right-hander. There's one gone.
Watch the bot. This is 94, folks. Watch this, the bottom drop out of this thing. Just 94. I mean, Wildcat fans, I know it's been a long year and a tough year, but keep your heads up. It's going to turn around.
Owen Cobb, the senior from Seattle. 343, 6 homers for Cobb this year. 3 for 8 in this series with a home run. Hit 5 straight, 2 for 4 yesterday with an RBI. And the 1-strike pitch from May, and Cobb bounces one to second. Smooth bounce for Mason White, and low throw handled at first by Kiko Romero. And there's 2 gone in the last of the second. Back to the top of the Stanford order in Eddie Park. Park walked in the first inning. So 2 outs, nobody on here in the second. Oregon's gotten a pair, and they lead Washington now 2-1, bottom 2 at PK Park in Eugene. Walsh is homered for Oregon. Put the Ducks in front, trying to avoid the sweep of the hands of the red-hot Huskies, who propelled themselves up the standings with a terrific weekend.
Well, if the Huskies win today, that would be 19 wins in the pack, I believe.
Washington is 15-10 on league play. They're 31-14 overall. They have won 5 in a row, and their RPI is up to 33. And I was texting with Washington Athletic Director Jen Cohen about their team today. And look, with the way Washington's played recently, they put themselves in the conversation to host a regional.
Well, they have, and if they can somehow come back and win this game today and then maybe get to the semis at least at the Pac-12 tournament, they're in that discussion. But you see ball 4 there, but I think who's in the driver's seat to be the second definite host is Oregon State.
The Beavs rubber game against UCLA. And the second inning there in Los Angeles, scoreless. But Washington, it would be a great story. Jason Kellen, his first year, former pitching coach at UW, coming back after Lindsey Meggs retired after a good run as the Huskies head coach. And JK coming back, and the way that team has caught fire here toward the end.
Oregon State is 17-12, so if they win today, they would be 18-12. That's a host.
And they'll play Western Carolina in a non-conference series next week. Is this one out of play from Tommy Troy, who reached on a fielder's choice and scored in the first inning. As Troy has now scored a run in 9 consecutive games.
Yeah, but I would say Oregon State for sure is a host if they win today. Take that series against the Bruins.
Assuming they don't burp it up next week against Western Carolina at home.
Well, yeah. Although I would tell you this, if you're a committee, you need to look at the Pac-12 conference. You finish second.
Ball skied into center. Mac Bingham roaming in, waiting for it to come down. And the side is retired. Stanford strands a runner. We're through 2 at Sunken Diamond. 3-2 Arizona over the Cardinal. 3-2 Arizona. We go to the third. 2, 3, and 4 for the Wildcats. Nick McClary, Chase Davis, Kiko Romero due up. The woman who's kind of hidden, the blonde-haired lady right there. Be nice if the woman in the white sun hat would just lean back for 1 second so we give Lynn Esker
just a little bit
her full props here on this.
There.
And that's David Esker's wife, and the daughter's sitting in front. And Lynn Esker normally sits near the Stanford dugout on the first base side. Nick McClary roped a double to left center off the wall in the first, takes a strike from Nick Dugan. So she normally sits adjacent to the Stanford dugout on the home plate side over on first base. 1 ball, 1 strike on McClary. But today, she is sitting behind the plate. And with David Esker's daughter sitting a row in front, that is because, see number 10 right there? He's also kind of hid. The Eskers clearly don't like the publicity. 1-2 on McClary. So Xavier Esker, David Esker's son, is a freshman on this Arizona team. He was redshirting this year, but he's on the squad traveling this weekend. A bouncer back up the middle, it trickles through, and a 2-hit game for Nick McClary. And leadoff base runner for Arizona to start the third. You get Chase Davis to the plate. And Arizona's able to take a few extra guys on this trip because they're playing a non-conference game tomorrow against UC Irvine. Had that game not been scheduled, Xavier Esker could not be a part of the travel party this weekend. But he is a part of the travel group because they are playing that game. And look, Chip Hale's not going to play him. He's redshirting this year. Went to high school literally right across the street here from Sunken Diamond at Palo Alto High School, across El Camino. Long homer in the first for Chase Davis. Takes in the dirt. McClary bolts for second on the pitch in the dirt, and he gets there easily. And now he'll take third as nobody occupying third base for the Cardinal. Another tremendous base running play from Nick McClary here this weekend.
You know, we talk about instincts. I want you to watch McClary at second base. Watch how quickly he gets up and watch. He looks and he's gone because there's nobody at third base. This kid's instincts are off the charts.
Wow. 1-0 on Davis. So a hit, takes second, and then realizes third base, there's nobody home for Stanford, and he scoots along. Two 2-0 on Davis. 17th home run in the first inning. And no doubter from the Cats left fielder, and he takes in the dirt ball 3.
Now it's 3-0 right now, and there's no outs. You got the leading RBI guy on deck and Kiko Romero. What are you throwing here? Well, he's not going to throw that ball. He doesn't like that
baseball.
But if you wonder if he's got the green light, the answer is 100% yes.
3-0 on Chase Davis. Overshift on. Now Tommy Troy anchored near third base with McClary, the runner there. And Davis takes a strike. As again, it was McClary, a straight steal of home on Friday, and now another heady base running opportunity he took advantage of for the Wildcats.
Well, look what they've adjusted. Same situation on Friday night.
And on the hands of Davis, and he fought it off. Count is full.
So the Cats had the same situation on Friday night with McClary on third, and Chase Davis up. But Stanford elected to put Tommy Troy at shortstop, Roxy, if you remember. And now, tonight, not the case. Or today, I should say, not the case.
Full count. McClary at first base. The pitch. And that one hit Davis. And Arizona runners at the corners with nobody out for the conference's leading RBI man, Kiko Romero. Just to finish the thought on the Esker family as you take a look at the hit by pitch. So Lynn Esker, who normally sits by the first base dugout, well, her son's in the other dugout, so she's got to sit in the middle.
100% she should. She should probably tilt more to the Zona side. I'm just saying.
Because it's Mother's Day, or just because?
Just because it's Zona. Now, is she wearing both colors?
No, she's wearing an Arizona t-shirt today.
Oh.
Well, because Stanford won the Pac-12 yesterday, so now
she's rooting for the Cats to get into the Pac-12 tournament.
I'm not saying she's rooting against her husband. I would never say that.
I didn't either, but
Kiko Romero struck out in the first inning. Activity beginning in the Stanford bullpen with Dugan running into some issues here in the third.
This is today on a Sunday, third game of a 3-game set. You take a look at Mrs. Esker.
There is Lynn Esker.
But this is a bullpen by committee. Everybody's on deck on a Sunday game.
But Stanford does not have a midweek game this week. Arizona is playing tomorrow, but the Cardinal will be off until they open up that final regular season series in Pullman against Washington State on Thursday.
Are you still going up there?
That's the plan. That ball is destroyed. If it stays fair, it's a home run. And it is foul. Kiko Romero trying to point, convince the umpires. It was about, what, 10 feet foul? But he hammered that one.
Kiko Romero, he turned in from the hitter to an umpire and pointed with his left hand at the dish.
Thought it was Bucky Dent.
Nathan White, home plate umpire, said, "No, I'll let you know if it's fair."
Runners at the corners, nobody out. McClary at third, Davis at first, Dugan's pitch, and that's ball 3. Oregon State has broken through, still batting. 3 runs in the top half of the second inning against Ethan Flanagan. The Beavers still hitting, up 3-0. Runner goes from first into the shift and past the diving second baseman Bowser. RBI single for Kiko Romero, and running on the pitch easily allows Chase Davis to get to third. And conference leading 69th run driven in by Romero, and a 4-2 lead for the Wildcats.
I would expect a trip out to the mound by somebody from the Cardinal just to buy some time for that bullpen to heat up with no outs right now. You got to look at this. This is a tremendous hitter, folks. Junior college transfer into the Wildcat roster, and all he has done is lead the pack in RBIs.
Emilio Corona, the batter. Runners in the corner, still nobody out. Dugan just missing with ball 1. 6th start this season for Dugan. Getting an opportunity here on the home finale and looking for the sweep. Stanford as he darts the outside edge of the plate. 1-1 the count on Emilio Corona. Ground out of the first. One ball, 1 strike. Chase Davis at third, Kiko Romero at first base. The pitch. Line to center. Another hit for Arizona's Corona drives in. Chase Davis around second to third. Kiko Romero makes it, and an RBI single for Corona. 5-2 Wildcats.
Well, that right there is just a hang and break 'em ball up and middle thrown by Dugan, and Corona is starting to heat up. Doesn't miss it. This trip out to the mound came from the dugout. Malcolm Moore, they told him go out and talk to him, buy us some time here. But you know, before this game starts, both of these skippers, Chip Hale for Arizona and David Esker for the Cardinal, they, in their mind, they'll expect X. And when I mean X, it's who you got on the mound. If Quinn Matthews is going, you're probably expecting that your team, you need to score 5 to win that game. 4, maybe. But today, because of the struggles of Dugan and because of the struggles of Aiden May, early in the game, you're going to leave your guys out there a little bit longer than you normally would. Because you're expecting maybe 6, 7, 8 runs win this game.
But from Stanford's perspective, is Mason White the batter? Strikeout first time up today. Runners of the corner, still nobody out. 2 in for the Cats, 5-2 Arizona. With no midweek game this week for Stanford and a shorter week, you're opening that series in Pullman on Thursday. Does that affect the thought process for David Esker and his pitching coach Thomas Eager about how you handle the pitching today?
Well, you mean who needs work? The answer is yes, because you're gonna if you're Thomas Edgar, he's gonna come out Eager. He's gonna come out and talk to him and or make a change right now. But to answer your question, the answer is yes, because Thomas Eager knows if you don't have a midweek game, then you're going to have pitchers that need to throw sides. They're going to have to throw sides. And normally those are done a lot of times for the midweek games. But because, to your point, they don't have a midweek game, so today Thomas Eager and David Esker might try to get some guys that would throw on that midweek game some work in this game.
And Stanford will indeed go to the bullpen here as the pitching change for the Cardinal. 5-2, Arizona leading. Still batting, nobody out. Top of the third is Matt Scott coming in for the Cardinal.
It's a fun game. What's a fun game today at pack-12.com/tickets.
We've alluded to the Pac-12 tournament coming up. Starts a week from Tuesday. Scottsdale Stadium in Tempe, spring training home at the San Francisco Giants.
I'm
Get
excited.
your tickets. Visit pac-12.com/tickets. The second annual.
I am excited. I truly am excited to be there. Not necessarily with you, but I'm excited to be there.
Well, they wouldn't let you last year, so you should be excited.
Yeah, I was in another continent, okay? Was that the right thing? Did I say that right? As we take a look at Matt Scott. Now, if you're wondering who Matt Scott is, he was the #2 guy, the Saturday night guy for the Cardinal the entire year up until about 3 weeks ago, where we want to say he hit a wall. It's not a wall. He just started to struggle. I thought when I saw him early in the season, this kid could be the best starter, and that includes Quinn Matthews, because that's how good he was. David Esker has told us in the fall ball, where he pitched against this awesome Stanford lineup, he sliced them up pretty good. I mean, but he has run into some command issue, and the command issue has been his nemesis recently.
Scott worked an inning here yesterday in relief, and Stanford electing to not start him this weekend and try to use him out of the bullpen to get him going again. Pitched a scoreless 9th inning with a strikeout yesterday. 2 runs for Arizona here in the third. A 5-2 Wildcats lead, and Mason White will face Scott. Runners at the corners. RBI singles for Kiko Romero and Emilio Corona here in top half of the third, as they have chased Nick Dugan after 2+ innings, giving up 6 hits, 3 strikeouts with a walk. He hit a batter through a wild pitch in the air, left center, going back. Eddie Park still going back at the fence, looks up, it is gone. Mason White goes the other way in the first pitch from Matt Scott. 3-run homer for White, 6 of the year, his second here this weekend, and it gives Arizona a 5-run third and an 8-2 lead.
Well, I tell you what, this freshman, Tucson native, came in, dreamt of being a Wildcat, and in his freshman year, boy, has he made an impression. Not a big kid at all in stature, but he can flat out swing the pole.
3-run shot. Here's Tony Bullard. Grounded out, first time up. Matt Scott misses with ball 1.
How many times have we said this weekend, first pitch swinging hit?
A lot. Second homer for Arizona in this one. 2-0 on Bullard. Majority of the runs now, the 7 of the 8 runs charged to Dugan. 2-0 on Tony Bullard. Scott, the pitch. Gets a strike. A much needed outburst from Arizona, the top offense in the Pac-12. They have come out swinging today. This one will reach the seats. Out of play. 2-2 on Tony Bullard. And it's critical again. Arizona needs some wins. They have to try to fight their way in to the Pac-12 tournament. They will host USC next weekend. But the top 9 teams qualify for the Pac-12 tournament. Bounce to short. Owen Cobb fires to first for the out. And the first out of the inning recorded. 1 away, and that'll bring up Tommy Splain. So, look, Stanford, we know they're going to be the 1 seed. And teams jockeying for positioning, and still a lot to be decided between now and when play ends next Saturday. But if the tournament were to start right now, with no results from today, counting toward the seeding in Scottsdale, the teams that qualify, as Splain takes a strike, Arizona at this point would be the outside looking in. They're a half game behind Washington State. The Cougars would be the 9 seed. Cal the 8, UCLA the 7. Arizona would be the 10th team. Splain hooks that one sharply foul. And Utah is a game and a half behind Washington State, and Arizona a half game behind the Cougs. Now, Washington State has played 1 fewer game than Arizona, and will when it's all said and done because of weather issues. Reaching for it, rolled over the mound. Backhanded by Drew Bowser near second base. And he throws out Splain. There's 2 away. They had 1 of the 3 games when they played UCLA and Pullman wiped out because of weather. And it will not be made up. So that's why Washington State, when it's all said and done, will play 1 fewer game than Arizona in conference play. And the same could be said, Washington will have 1 fewer game because of some weather issues. Called strike to Garen Caulfield, a fly-out victim in the 2nd. With Arizona State in a series in Seattle earlier this year. So it goes by winning percentage, and since Washington State right now has slightly better winning percentage than Arizona, that's why the Cougs will get the nod at this point. Bounced foul by Caulfield is Washington State's winning percentage, .360. And Arizona's in-league play is .346 coming into their ball games today. And the Cougars just getting ready to start over at Cal in the rubber game of that series. Shane Spencer pitching for Wazoo. Chris Stamos making the start for Cal, after Washington State won Friday and Cal returned the favor yesterday. Caulfield lines it to left. And a liner that falls in, and Caulfield with hit number 8 for the Arizona Wildcats and a 2-out base runner, as Mac Bingham will be the 9th batter of this 3rd inning.
Well, I mean, in this era of numbers, right? Stats, right? You're talking about some numbers, but could you guess what Arizona's record is when they score in the 1st inning? Now keep in mind their overall record, as we speak,
26-22.
Right. So what do you think their record is when they score in the 1st inning?
20-0.
16-7. 16-7.
Mac Bingham singled and scored the first, 1 for 2. And Utah, again, in non-conference action this week, trailing Cal Poly 3-2 in Salt Lake City in the 4th. Just missed from Matt Scott. UCLA, Bruins are 2 games in front of Cal. UCLA in the 7th seed right now. And they're 11-13. They do have a tie with Utah that could factor in, as they couldn't finish a game at Jackie Robinson Stadium earlier this year.
And Arizona's record after 6 innings and they're leading. Think about that, because you would think the Cats have had trouble pitching, right? They're 22-3.
2-1 on Mac Bingham. Short lead for Garen Caulfield. In the air to center, Eddie Park will have room. Makes the catch. So Arizona sends 9 to the plate. They score 5. The big blow off the bat of Mason White. 8-2 Wildcats to the last of the 3rd. Big lead for the Wildcats. 8-2 as they have used the long ball in this one. Chase Davis, a 3-run shot. Mason White, a 3-run blast. Heart of the order for Stanford in the home 3rd. Carter Graham, Braden Montgomery, Alberto Rios. Against Aiden Manning. Then take Washington State long, get on the board, 1-0 on a homer by Brown in the top of the first, coming against Chris Damo. So a good start for Washington State across the bay.
You know, there's multiple meanings for homer.
Yeah.
There's actually, multiple. There's a homer of a name of a person, right?
A homer broadcaster like Wes Clemens today.
A homer umpire.
Carter Graham takes it just inside the slider as Graham a ground out in the first. And Carter Graham right now has been a red-hot hitter for Stanford. 14-game hitting streak and 15 of the last 16 for Graham. And he lines that pitch off the glove of the leaping shortstop McClary. Great effort by Nick McClary, just couldn't corral it. That extends the hitting streak 15 in a row for Carter Graham, and a leadoff hit for Stanford in the home third for Braden Montgomery.
Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb right here as you take a look at Carter Graham continuing to stay hot. But 8 runs not going to win this game. That's what I'm guessing. What do you got?
No, I'm with you. I think this is, you're going to need double-digit runs today to win.
And it's not an assault on the Wildcats pitching staff. It's just the way these two teams swing the bat. That's all.
Two of the best offensive clubs in the country. That one gets away from Splain behind the plate, and Carter Graham jogs up to second base on a wild pitch. So runner in scoring position for the Cardinal. Montgomery has homered in 3 straight games, hit by a pitch and scored a run in the first. And fouled back by Braden Montgomery. Keep in mind, we still have one more weekend of league play to go. UCLA is at Arizona State next weekend. Washington State will host Stanford. Arizona will host USC. Cal is at Washington as those teams jockeying for position to get their spot in Scottsdale. Montgomery in the air, left center field. Toward the alleyway, it is off the wall. Chase Davis plays the carom perfectly, and Graham had to hold to make sure it fell. And Carter Graham only gets to third, and a double high off the wall the other way for Braden Montgomery, and the Cardinal have runners at second and third.
Yeah, it's pretty good base running there by Carter Graham. As you mentioned, he had to make sure that ball wasn't going to be caught, and if you missed the catch on Friday by Chase Davis, you would understand what Carter Graham is thinking. Get a look here. This youngster is going to be on everybody. He's already on every MLB scout board for next year, but he hit a ball at the yard any place.
Strike one, Alberto Rios, an RBI single in the first, and Rios extending his hitting streak in the first inning.
Cats bullpen,
12 games.
Quiet.
Rios lines it to left. That'll get all the way to the wall, and will score 2 as Carter Graham is in. Here comes Braden Montgomery, and the Cardinal coming right back. 8-4 Arizona. You think Alberto Rios is locked in?
Here's what I think about Alberto Rios. I think he is probably, for 3 months, this is a breaking ball, and he just doesn't miss it. Actually, you know what that was? It was more of a cutter. It's at 89 miles an hour. As Dave Lawn's going to go out and talk to his youngster on the mound, Aiden May. But Alberto Rios was on nobody's board this year at all,
including Stanford's. No, I wouldn't say that. They thought he'd factor in, but
he's here because David Esker and his staff thought he could play, but they didn't know he was going to play at this level. And now, D1 Baseball, a tremendous publication for college baseball, has Alberto Rios in their top 100 of best outfielders in the game, and I think he's in the top 20 if I want to. I believe right now, but he is really stamped his name on MLB's draft boards.
He's driven in 3 today, and he's at second base. His Rios is multi-hits in 7 of the last 9 games. Already extending that hitting streak to 12 games. The last 12 games, he is 25 for 45 with 19 driven in.
Well, the 19 driven in, how good is he earlier in the year against Bakersfield, right? 11 RBIs in 1 game.
Malcolm Moore, an RBI double in the first. Rios at second base. Zade May running into problems with his potent Stanford lineup as he gets strike one. Stanford is going to be the #1 seed. That we know by clinching the Pac-12 title yesterday. Moore goes back up the middle, and it trickles through into center past the diving Mason White. Around third, here comes Rios. Malcolm Moore is 2 for 2 with 2 batted in. And it's 8-5.
Well, this is what happens when you get a fastball that kind of gets in on Malcolm Moore. He's just strong, and he fights it just on the outstretched glove of Mason White.
Still nobody out in the home third. Drew Bowser struck out in the first. High chop over the mound, charging a tough play for White. And he throws and gets Bowser by a step. Nicely done by Mason White. That was the only play he had as Malcolm Moore gets to second. Bowser retired, and that'll give an opportunity to Henry Gargis here, who struck out his first time. Stanford will be the one, and you and I can play this game, and I guarantee these conversations are going on between David Esker and Thomas Eager what to do with their pitching. As, again, a Thursday-Friday series, Thursday-Friday-Saturday series next week. Instead of the traditional Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the tournament starting on Tuesday. And Stanford's, look, they're still playing for a national seed. Even with what they've accomplished at this point, I'd be shocked if they're not hosting a regional.
Oh, no. The hosting's done. That's over. You can't win the Pac-12 and not host.
So, for the Cardinal, and talking to David Esker and Thomas Eager and just trying to pick their brains about what they're thinking and how they're going to handle their pitching heading toward the postseason. As Gargis gets a piece of it. And best guess is they're probably going to keep their guys on turn. For example, Quinn Matthews, who's been their #1 guy Friday nights all season. They'll not move him up to Thursday next week. They'll pitch him on Friday again and give him his full rest and get him ready to go. Where Joey Dixon, who cemented himself in the rotation, especially with that performance yesterday, and he's been in the weekend rotation as the #3, but now he's taken over the #2 role from Matt Scott. And more than likely he will go next Saturday against Washington State. And then when you head to Scottsdale, Stanford as the 1 seed will not play until Wednesday night. They'll play Wednesday and Thursday in pool play, and then if they advance, semifinals Friday, championship Saturday. Gargis draws a walk. Good battle right there. And there's 2 on, 1 out for Owen Cobb. But in all likelihood, Stanford will not pitch Quinn Matthews until that Friday should Stanford reach the semis, and then have Joey Dixon for the final.
I mean, there's a lot on the table you just mentioned right there, but you're right. They do have to do some thinking. I think next weekend, with the exception of what you mentioned, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday instead of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Quinn, they're either going to move him up.
Owen Cobb in the air, right center. Not deep enough to advance the runners is the catch made by Emilio Corona. Malcolm Moore stays at second, Henry Gargis at first, and Eddie Park getting a chance here.
So the championship game of the Pac-12 tournament is on Saturday, correct?
Saturday night.
Okay, so here's the thing. As you know, in the postseason, there are many #1 guys that will come back in the Super Regionals and on 3 days rest, and especially in Omaha. So I wouldn't be surprised if they moved Quinn up to Thursday. And here's why: and threw him on Wednesday, game 1, because then he's got 3 days rest, and he comes back, actually 2 days rest, but he comes back on Saturday and is available. But again, I have any idea what they're thinking. But the main thing for David Esker and his crew over there is to make sure they take care of business next weekend. Because if they take care of business next weekend against Washington State, they're pretty much solidify that national seed.
Park rolls one to second base. Down to a knee, Mason White. Throws out Eddie Park. The Cardinal get 3, though, in the bottom of the 3rd. Through 3. Arizona 8. Stanford 5.
Pac-12 Network.
Keep hyping the offenses, and this is why we do, because they are the top 2 offenses in the Pac-12. You look at runs scored, batting average. Stanford leads the conference in homers. 2 deep, talented lineups.
And you guys are shocked why there's 13 runs on the board?
And we've only played 3 innings. 2, 3, and 4 for Arizona here in the 4th. It'll be Nick McClary, Chase Davis, Kiko Romero for the Wildcats. So Matt Scott trying to get back into a groove here for the Cardinals. Going to be critical for them heading into the postseason.
They are going to need this youngster if they're going to go deep in the postseason to pick it up and get back to where he was, his form early in the season.
Nick McClary 2 for 2 today, a double and a single. He's scored a couple of runs. The Wildcat shortstop leads off the top of the 4th inning, and Matt Scott, the 6'7" freshman righty from Connecticut, and a liner to left, and Nick McClary's 3 for 3.
Chase Davis.
9 hits now for Arizona. And that'll bring up Chase Davis, who destroyed a ball in the 1st inning for a 3-run homer. Hit by a pitch, scored a run in that 5-run 3rd. Matt Scott pours in strike 1. And last year, Stanford had to come back through the losers bracket to win a regional. They had some pitching depth to be able to do it. Quinn Matthews was enormous during that run to come back and win that Stanford regional over Texas State on Monday night. The game that he pitched on Saturday against UC, or Sunday rather, against UC Santa Barbara was magnificent. But this year, I have concerns if Stanford is asked to do the same, to come back through the losers bracket.
Well, Quinn Matthews, as you mentioned, was tremendous out of the pen, okay? So he could throw.
Because they had Alex Williams, who was the Pac-12 pitcher of the year.
Right, but last year, Quinn could throw 3 out of 4 days, period.
But he threw 6 innings against Santa Barbara in game 1 on Sunday when Stanford had to win twice, then come back on Monday night and win again to advance.
So he was that versatile that you can run him out there. Now I'm going to say something. It's a good
strikeout
fastball.
of Chase Davis.
Good fastball up in the zone by Scott there. But I'm going to say something. You're going to look at me like I'm crazy, which you always do anyway. But
because you are.
But I will say this. Because of what you just said. Now, we saw Joey Dixon yesterday was tremendous, okay? But you don't have that ace in the hole in the bullpen, the versatile guy that you can throw 3 out of 4 times.
The only guy that could fit that bill for Stanford is Drew Dowd.
Drew Dowd could fit that, but he's been the 7th, 8th inning guy.
Runner goes, and awkwardly into second base, and luckily Nick McClary didn't hurt himself there. That was bizarre. It is a steal for McClary, but well, he will win no graceful awards for going into second base, and now thought about going to 3rd.
This is who Nick McClary is, folks. I tell you what, Owen Cobb gets the throw from Malcolm Moore, but McClary doesn't even slide.
It's like he hit the brakes and nearly hurt himself falling over. Strike to Romero.
But I wouldn't say it's off the table that Quinn Matthews doesn't fit that mold again. I'm just telling you, in order to win, you've mentioned it, you got to have those guys that you can count on 3 or 4 days that you can run out there.
And maybe they're angling for Matt Scott to be in that role. As last year, now Alex Williams was the Pac-12 pitcher of the year for Stanford. He did not pitch the first game that the Stanford Cardinal played in the postseason last year at the regional here against Binghamton. Joey Dixon made that start. As David Esker rolled the dice, that one gets away from Malcolm Moore, and on a wild pitch, Nick McClary advances to third. But David Esker rolled the dice as the 1 seed, international seed, by throwing Joey Dixon the first game, hoping to get by the 4 seed, Binghamton, which they did. Then he had his ace, Alex Williams, lined up to pitch against Texas State in their second game of the regional, which was Saturday night. And unfortunately, Alex Williams picked the wrong time for his worst outing of the year. And Texas State won that game, sending Stanford to the loser's bracket, where the Cardinal had to win twice on Sunday and then Monday to move to the Supers. That ball is skied to right. It'll stay in the ballpark, but should give Arizona a run. And tagging from third, here comes Nick McClary. A sac fly for Kiko Romero, who's driven in 2. And the Wildcats now 9-5 in front of Stanford.
I mean, Kiko Romero does his job, obviously, with the sac fly, but that's all McClary. Leads off with a base hit, steals second base standing up, acts like he's going to steal third again like he did last time, reads the ball in the dirt, gets to third, and then scores on the sac fly.
Emilio Corona, 2 outs, nobody on, takes ball 1 for Matt Scott. RBI single for Corona in the third, 1 for 2 today. 9-9-1 for the Cats, 5-6-0 for the Cardinal. On the ground to third, gobbled up near the bag by Tommy Troy. Side retired, but another run for Arizona. Tommy Troy, Carter Graham, Braden Montgomery coming up in the 4th for Stanford. 9-5 U of A. Classy gesture by Stanford event staff is the moms on Mother's Day of the players on both sides being showered with applause. Stanford and Arizona moms, and then there's Lynn Esker on the left with the Arizona moms today. Well, she is an Arizona mom. She's not a Stanford mom.
She is.
Well, in a lot of ways, she is a Stanford mom to like 35 guys in the program. Tommy Troy leads off the home 4th against Aiden May. 0 for 2 of the run for Troy. Carter Graham, Braden Montgomery to follow.
But to go back to the discussion, what David Esker is going to do with Thomas Eager, the pitching coach, and the whole crew, our conversation here, it's times 10 for them. Because they go through every scenario.
Ripped by Tommy Troy to left. And a sharp single. And Tommy Troy with hit number 7 for the Cardinal. And the Card have a start here in the bottom of the 4th.
But there's so many times when, for better words, as skippers, we've all done it, right? You can outthink yourself, right?
No, we haven't all done it. I haven't done it. You have.
Well, okay, I was including you, okay? I mean, just would you run it?
Well, I get to play amateur skipper
just
up here.
Just run with it. Okay, but I've included you because you can outthink yourself as a staff. I mean, what worked for 65 games, right? 70 games. All of a sudden, let's change it, right? We're going to change it. And the only thing you can do is just kind of roll with what has got you there. And then you piece it together at the back end. I mean, to your point, I mean, I said, well,
That gets away from Tommy Splain as Tommy Troy gets to second.
You know, possibly do they throw Quinn back in to be that multiple purpose guy in the pen? They could, probably won't, but maybe he does throw game 1 on Wednesday for the Cardinal, because Thursday, Friday, and maybe he throws 5 innings. Maybe. Hopefully they get a big lead.
To center, Carter Graham. And a soft liner for a hit. Tommy Troy being sent around third. Carter Graham, an RBI single. 9-6 Wildcats.
Yeah, Carter doesn't hit this ball hard. It's a breaking pitch, and he hits it right off the end of the bat, but he's so doggone strong. He's able to feather it out there. And Chip Hale's going out to the mound now, so normally when Chipper goes, that means there's going to be a pitching change.
RBI single for Graham. So pitching change for Arizona. The Wildcats go to the bullpen. It's all hands on deck on this Sunday. Bottom of the 4th, 9-6 Cardinal. New pitcher for the Wildcats. Aiden May goes 3+, and we'll hand it off to the bullpen. Dawson Netz, second appearance of the series for the Arizona right-hander, the junior from Sierra Madre, who worked here in the ballgame on Friday night, as Dawson Netz worked 1 inning with a couple of strikeouts, a 1-2-3 frame for Netz. He's done a really good job out of the bullpen for the Wildcats this year.
He's done a tremendous job. You take a look at his numbers: 23 third innings, just 8 walks, 26 punchouts, 2.70 ERA. And you might say, well, I mean, normally Dawson is throwing in the 7th and 8th inning when the Cats have a lead. Well, Chip Hale is trying to get a W here, and he's running them out here in the 4th, just the 4th inning. Why? Because they have a lead. And that's the situation right here. It's all hands on deck, and, you know, you manage the game that you're playing. And that's what Chip Hale is doing right now. They have a lead. He's bringing out one of his best, and one of the best in the Pac-12 right now, to try to put a stop to this Cardinal offense.
Braden Montgomery has scored 2 runs, doubled his last time, also been hit by a pitch. So a 9-6 lead for the Arizona Wildcats. Dawson Netz, 3rd in the Pac-12, 28th appearance this year. Of course, leads this Arizona staff. And it's 1-0 Montgomery. Cleanup batter for the Cardinal, their right fielder. Shift on for Arizona. And Bullard playing well up at 3rd, well over too. As that's a strike to Montgomery, I don't think agreed with Nathan White, the plate umpire. So there's the overshift. Bullard now will back up with a 1-1 count of Montgomery. 3 Cats on the right side of the diamond.
Well, look at the where Arizona's defense is playing, and look at Chase Davis in left, right? You have Montgomery, but Chase Davis is basically dead straight up playing left field, but Bullock is playing a deep shortstop. So that tells you somewhere they got information that if the ball's hit on the ground by Montgomery, it's going to be pulled. If it's hit in the air, it could go anywhere.
2-2 on Braden Montgomery. Carter Graham, the runner at first. Dawson Netz. Pitch. And Montgomery on the ground to second. Scooped up. Mason White. That's Nick McClary at the bag, who hustled over and couldn't get 2 out of it. Montgomery with terrific speed. But they do force the lead runner, Graham, at second base. And there's out number 1 for Alberto Rios.
But what's interesting about in the College World Series, I can remember, I was fortunate to play in 2 of them, but I can remember our first one, right? We played a team that saved their best guy that they had for the next game. They were assuming they were going to beat us. Well, that guy never pitched because we beat him, right? And so
Alberto Rios in the air to left. Chase Davis back to the wall, and it is gone. Alberto Rios has driven in 5 today, and Stanford is within a run. Number 14 for Rios, who is 3 for 3, single, double, homer. And we're only in the bottom of the 4th.
What else can we say about this kid? I mean, he's been amazing. And you know what? I just thought about something, Rox. You know what he's thrown his name into? Player of the Year. With Tommy Troy. With Kiko Romero. For the Pac-12.
What about Chase Davis?
And Chase Davis, I mean, wow.
Malcolm Moore takes ball 1. Alberto Rios, 14 homers, and now he's driven in 56 this year, with 5 today. Fouled away by Moore.
Well, what was it, an inning ago where I said 8 runs not going to win this?
18 runs? Is that going to win this?
Well, I don't know, but we do know I was right on one thing. I got lucky. 8 is not going to win it.
Well, Stanford had to win 20-17 against Santa Clara on Tuesday. Malcolm Moore in the air right center field. Got a chance, and it is gone, and we have a tie game. Malcolm Moore, his 11th. He's driven in 3 today. And we start again here in the bottom of the 4th and tied at 9.
Folks, if you're at home on the couch, just drop an anchor, order some Uber food. This is going to be fun today. What a show both of these offenses have put on today, both of these clubs.
4 for Stanford here in the 4th to draw even. Strike to Drew Bowser. So each side has hit 2 home runs. Moore is homered for the 2nd consecutive day. That's a strike to Bowser. It's like those Snickers commercials. You're not going anywhere for a while? Fought off by Bowser.
By the way, best candy bar. Snickers is in there. It's in there.
It's okay.
Did you just say Snickers is okay?
Good.
It's in the top 3 of all time.
But I'm not much of a candy guy anymore. I'm just not. Bowser, inside out swing, loops it to right. And how about that defensive swing that ends up in a single for Drew Bowser? And Bowser now with a hitting streak extended as he's hitting 12 in a row.
It's just a tremendous display of hand-eye coordination from hitters for both of these clubs.
That mid-pitch adjustment, though, that Bowser just made.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Because both of these clubs, up and down the lineup, have hitters that keep their bat in the strike zone longer than most. And that's what allows Bowser to get fooled, but his momentum is going towards the hitting zone, so it allows his bat to stay in there long enough to just feather that ball to right field.
Henry Gargis, the batter, he walked in the 3rd. He's 0 for 1 today. Senior getting the start. Senior day, his first start in about 2.5 months. 1-1 the count. UCLA has battled back, and they've tied Oregon State 3-3, still hitting in the bottom of the 3rd. Speaking of battling back, Stanford, who trailed it 8-2, it's now 9-9, and Gargis is tied up.
All right, so 9 runs is not going to win. I'll go on a limb right now. It's not going to win it.
Really? I mean, that's where you're going.
Well, there has been a tie game, UCLA and Utah.
But that didn't win it.
Well, that's true.
Taking off. Drew Bowser gets his second on a pitch in the dirt. And the plate umpire, Nathan White, halting play, pointing down as Tommy Splain used his equipment. Stopped the baseball, and that's why even if they throw down and got Bowser, he would have been safe.
It is illegal to use your catcher's mask or anything like that. You'll get a look at it right here. His mask actually touched the ball, which is what's the problem right there.
2-2 on Gargis, and now Bowser at second base with one out. Gotta put it by him. And Nets gets the strikeout. There's two away. Now we'll leave it up to Owen Cobb here for Stanford.
You know, the mentality for pitchers for both of these clubs today, I mean, pitching coaches have to do a really good job mentally with their pitchers just to say, hey, yeah, I know we've given up 9 runs, but there's going to be a lot of runs scored here. So, yeah, you got beat up right there. We're going to run you back out there. This is the way it's going to be. You just got to tough it up and suck it up and get right through it.
Skied out of play by Owen Cobb.
I remember managing in the Cal League at Lancaster where the wind blew out. I mean, when I tell you the wind, am I lying?
I've been there.
The wind blows out in Lancaster.
The hangar in Lancaster.
Right, but it literally blows out 20 miles an hour. So in the
every day.
In the first inning, you know, people be screaming at me in the stands, get him out of there. And I'm like, it's my starter had given up 6 runs with 2 outs. Okay. No, he's going to still be in there in the 5th because you just can't take him out. You don't have enough pitchers. You just assume that 10, 11, 12 runs are going to win a game when you play in Lancaster.
0-2 on Owen Cobb. Drew Bowser at second base. And it just missed from Dawson Nets. Having worked in the Cal League, and I worked in High Desert.
Well, speaking of balls that fly,
yeah.
Jeez. I mean, again, that's another place where you just know, okay, yeah, number 1 prospects on the mound.
Cobb lays off, and in fact, it was inscribed in inside the desk in the home clubhouse of the pitching coach's office in his desk. Get out of here, run. 2-2 to Cobb. Got under it. Fighting the sun out there. Backing up Mason White. And he makes the catch to retire the side, but Stanford has tied the game. 4-run, 4th. Homers by Alberto Rios and Malcolm Moore. 9-9 to the 5th. Tied at 9 as we go to the 5th inning at Sunken Diamond on this sun-bathed Sunday afternoon, Mother's Day. Ty Huber on the mound, and see the control issues that he's had coming back from an injury this year after a solid freshman year. And Huber on in relief, still trying to pitch his way back into form. Has made 1 start this year. Takes over after Matt Scott worked 2 innings for Stanford. On in relief of Nick Dugan, who started, and Scott giving up 2 runs on 3 hits with a strikeout in his 2 innings of duty, and now hands it off to Ty Huber.
Well, everybody that Stanford's running out there in the postseason, they're going to come into a game in a big situation, and it's all these kids right now. But again, their nemesis the entire year has been their base on balls.
And Huber was so valuable to Stanford last year, and they could use him coming around and being an option for Stanford out of the bullpen this year. His first appearance in almost a month. Huber has not pitched since a game against Sac State April 18th,
which was a wild one. I think
15-13 was the final. Stanford lost. Hasn't worked in a conference game since May 27th against Utah. So Ty Huber
April 27th.
One start this year against Rice back at the end of February. And dealing with some injuries and coming back, delivers ball one is Huber, the sophomore. 6'4" from Cameron Park, California. That ball is hooked down the right side off the bat of Mason White, and it's a fair ball. Into the corner. Fired back in by Braden Montgomery, and Mason White just fair with a double. He homered back in the third, and Arizona right back at it.
I don't know the number, but it sure seems like a lot of leadoff hits have happened in this game. I mean,
You want a number?
yes.
Okay, the Arizona leadoff hit in the first, in the fourth, well, the third and the fourth, and now here in the fifth. Stanford leadoff hits in the third and fourth.
That's 6.
Correct.
I told you math was my best subject.
Tony Bullard takes a strike from Huber.
But the beauty of baseball, it's the best game in the world, and this is why, folks. At 8-2 lead, all of a sudden it's 9-9. So both clubs are saying, hey, it's a 5-inning game. That's all it is right now.
Tony Bullard slices this one down the right side. That'll peel off.
Now, the David Esker does have the value of Ryan Bruno is not thrown in this series yet. Ryan, if you don't know who Ryan Bruno is, he's a left-handed pitcher. He's one of the best in the country, and he's been absolutely insanely good recently. He's got a fastball up to 98.
0-2 to Bullard. Huber misses upstairs, and like Bruno, Huber was significant in Stanford's postseason run last year. He picked up the win against Texas State in the second game of that Sunday where Stanford had to win twice. Went 5 innings against the Bobcats, giving up 3 runs, a couple of strikeouts. Huber last year 4-1 with an ERA at 4.99. Bullard laces one to right center. Arizona will retake the lead. Bullard stops at first, and trotting around, Mason White, 10-9 Wildcats, and
here we go.
Eddie Park replacing his divot out there after slipping in right center field. Replace your divots, folks.
Well, this is location, and we talk about pitchers all the time. I mean, there's a big emphasis on let's throw as hard as we can, but this ball is up, and it's a breaking pitch that breaks probably 2 inches, and it's up in the zone. I mean, pitching is about disrupting a hitter's timing. That's all it is. It's not how hard you throw. It's messing with the hitter's timing and locating.
1-0 on Tommy Splain. 0-1 with a walk. Huber, the pitch. That drops in there. And so of those 6 leadoff hits today that have reached, how many do you think have scored?
6.
You got it.
Well, the leadoff walk, what was that one? Forever.
He didn't score, but he was eliminated on a fielder's choice, and the guy that reached on the fielder's choice scored.
Okay, but the leadoff walk, what was that percentage for a long time?
137% of the time the leadoff walk scores.
Well, I think it used to be in the 80s or something, but as you mentioned, it seemed like it was about 150.
2-1 on Tommy Splain. Leadoff double by Mason White, knocked in by Tony Bullard. This will get behind the plate now to play as Malcolm Moore gives it a look. And luckily for people off to our left behind the plate, it landed where it did because they weren't paying attention. They had no clue where the baseball was.
That's kind of like me when I played.
Guy's looking around at his phone. He's like, oh, okay, that's where it is. Like, they didn't know there was a ball until it landed, and they heard it hit the cement. Chase, did he go? Yes. Strikeout for Huber as Splain is gone, 1 away.
It's a good slider there from Huber. Which, again, we talked about location, right? And that's the same pitch that Huber had just thrown to Tony Bullard. But again, it's location. Down and away versus middle to Bullard.
Garen Caulfield 1 for 2 with a hitter, the 9 batter for Arizona. Short lead for Bullard at first base. This is a twofold appearance really for Huber. As Caulfield, did he go? No swing on appeal, says Stephen Corby. Look, Stanford wants to get innings. They want to win today. But for Thomas Eager, Stanford's pitching coach, and David Esker, they're trying to get Ty Huber right. They're trying to get him on track because of what he did last year and knowing how valuable moving forward he could be.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, because you mentioned how good Huber was in the postseason. It might sound crazy, but when pitchers go into funks, for better words, most of the time it's not a mechanical thing, it's a mental thing. That's all it is. So I'm sure that David Esker's thinking, just let's wait till the postseason. We're going to run him in there, and all of a sudden he reverts back because his mind goes, hey, this is where I have been successful. And then it's revert back to who they were.
But at the same time, Huber coming back from an injury has to regain that trust to be able to put him in that situation. He's done it before. We've seen it. And coming back from the injury is it's now 3-0 on Caulfield. Two innings from Nick Dugan, 2 for Matt Scott, and now Ty Huber out there on the mound. And he missed high, and there's 2 on for Arizona. 4-pitch walk for Garen Caulfield, and now you really run into trouble because you're at the back. You're back at the top of the Arizona lineup. Activity is. It's been a busy bullpen already for Stanford. Max Meyer is loosening. Mac Bingham singled and scored back in the first, 1 for 3. Huber could really use double play ball.
Yes, he could, because you think David Esker and the Cardinal are thinking, okay, we're chasing 1 run, but we need to get 13 more outs in this game. So that's how you're thinking when you're dealing with a pitching staff.
Nice job by Malcolm Moore behind the plate.
Actually, 14 outs.
I thought math was your strong suit.
It is. Well, I just corrected myself because I caught myself, right? I didn't turn in my assignment yet.
Oregon leading 4-2 through 5 against Washington in Eugene. There's a strike to Bingham. Bruins Beavs 3-3, bottom 4 at UCLA. Just getting going. Scoreless in the 4th now, Arizona State and USC.
Well, that is a big series for the Bruins. After being swept last weekend by Cal, they dropped out of D1 baseball's projections to get in. Now, if they win this series against Oregon State and then go on the road next week, they go to Tempe to face ASU, they win that series, now just like that, they're back into the projections to be in because their RPI fits.
Fooled Bingham, it's 2-2.
Good slider.
Cal Poly leading Utah 4-2 in the 6th, the rubber game of that non-conference series. And Washington State a 4-1 lead, bottom 3 in Berkeley against Cal. 2-2 to Bingham. Swing and a miss. Huber gets the strikeout. His second 2 gone. 2 on, 2 out for Nick McClary.
And we talk so much about repeating good pitch back to back, and this is exactly what Huber does. Same pitch, and he repeated it, located in the exact same spot.
McClary 3 for 3, 3 runs scored, a double, a pair of singles.
How many clubs across the country have you said, hey, McClary, you want him? How many? Let me rephrase the question. Top 10 team in the country. Top 10 team in the country. Hey, you want McClary?
Don't give clubs any ideas. The way the transfer portal NIL's going these days. Let's just focus on the ball game.
Oh, boy.
Called strike to McClary. Senior from Rockland out near Sacramento. And Huber hits the top of the zone, and McClary clearly didn't like it.
No, he did not. But this is where he's dangerous, is Nick McClary. Right? Because you know he's going to put the ball in play most of the time.
And a tip at home plate, and we'll do it again. 0-2 on McClary. Tony Bullard at second. Garen Caulfield, the runner, at first for the Wildcats. Here in the top half of the fifth.
I mean, McClary could hit this ball anywhere on the field.
Ty Huber. Here it comes. And it just darted off the outside.
Look, you see McClary right there with his right leg. He digs his right spike into the dirt. It's basically like, nope, I'm not going to swing at that.
That's when you know a hitter's seeing the ball well.
Well, that's a bad sign. It just tells you, hey, I'm locked in right now. He didn't like the call by the home plate umpire, and now all of a sudden he's just flat out said, I'm going to bear down right now. Pardon the pun. I mean, bear down fits, right?
Homer.
No, it's not a homer. Bear down, Arizona.
Really?
Well, nope. Boy, is he lucky he did it again. Oh, is he a joy to watch. Just a baseball player, folks. You can put him in any era, and he fits.
2 on, 2 out. 2-2 on Nick McClary. Ty Huber the pitch. And that's in the dirt. The runners will stay as Malcolm Moore quickly gets to it.
Now the key, if you're a hitter, a young hitter, you get behind the count 0-2. So you fight. You get back to 3-2. The biggest mistake that hitters make in this situation is they assume a fastball's coming. And they get out of the fighting mode.
And that's ball 4, and they're loaded.
What an at-bat right there. That's just tremendous.
McClary is on for the 4th time. 3 hits and now a walk. Tony Bullard at third. Garen Caulfield moves up to second. And Chase Davis, who launched a 3-run homer in the first, struck out his last time 1 for 2, and that'll be it. As Thomas Eager, pitching coach for the Cardinal, will head to the mound, and they'll summon the sidewinder. Max Meyer coming out of the bullpen. Try to wiggle out of this. 10-9 Arizona. They're loaded for the Wildcats. Bases full for the Wildcats. 2 outs, top of the 5th, and Stanford back to the bullpen. And a critical spot in this game is the slugger Chase Davis coming up for the Wildcats. And the new pitcher for the Cardinal is the sidewinder Max Meyer. The senior from Belmont, Massachusetts, enters here.
Well, you know what's interesting about this? You had Ty Huber on a 3-2 count with McClary up, right? He throws a breaking pitch, right? This is with Chase Davis, arguably one of the most powerful hitters in the country, on deck. And now you bring in a sidewinder right-hander, which conventional wisdom says those are the guys you bring in against a right-hand hitter, right? So now, but they obviously know. We're going to take a look at Chase Davis' home run in his first at-bat in the first inning. Just a blast. He knew it. But again, Thomas Eager knows his pitching staff better than I do. And they must like this matchup with Meyer against Davis than they do with Huber.
So Meyer, who has had an inconsistent year, he does have 19 strikeouts in 17 innings, but an ERA up over 11. Again, it's only 17 innings. 15th appearance for Meyer. Bases full. Tony Bullard at third, Garen Caulfield at second, Nick McClary the runner at first base. And 2 gone here in the 5th. Arizona, RBI single from Tony Bullard as the Cats have retaken the lead. And they're looking to get some add-on runs here. Meyer the pitch, and that's upstairs to Davis. 1-0 on Chase Davis. Max Meyer. Here it comes. And that one's in the dirt, smothered by Malcolm Moore.
Now you're in danger zone right here. You got a 2-0 count, and we know that the Cardinal behind in the count throw a lot of soft, a lot of off-speed pitches, but do you risk going 3-0, or do you throw the fastball tailing away and hope that Davis hooks it to the right side in the infield?
3-0 on Davis.
Go ahead, ask me.
Go ahead.
Yes, he's swinging, folks.
3-0 on Davis. 17 homers, 55 driven in. And he swings 3-0 and fouls it back. Three balls, one strike on Davis. Chase Davis, the junior from Elk Grove out near Sacramento. And the pitch from Meyer. And that's ball 4, and they've walked in a run.
Real good at bat by Davis right there. And it's not any picnic with Kiko Romero coming up right now, but I mean, this is Arizona offense. Obviously, we've talked about it. #1 in the conference in a variety of statistics, and the situation for the Cardinal is a danger zone. Already chasing 2, and the RBI leader in the conference, and Romero up.
That run charge to Huber, and Romero strike 1. He has driven in 2 today. He's got 70 batted in on the year now. Base is full. Caulfield at third, McClary at second, Davis the runner at first. And time is called, and issue with the baseball, I'm guessing, as the second base umpire, Scott Latender, signaled to have that baseball dumped out of play and a new ball for Max Meyer to throw.
Why?
Not to ask him, I don't know.
Well, you brought it up.
Well, I'm just saying what I noticed happened. I don't know why it happened, I just saw it happen.
It had to hit the dirt at some point in time.
1 strike pitch to Romero, and he lays off. As a pitcher, I gotta imagine you want to keep that ball in play, because it's a little scuffed up, a little dirt on it, benefits the pitcher.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Pearly white benefits the hitter. Meyer the 1-1.
Good take right there by Romero. It's a great pitch from Meyer, but a better take from Romero. And if you're Cardinal right now, you want to throw the same pitch, and I'll tell you why, because Kiko got way out there. He was fooled and he was off balance, but he was able to hold his bat. It tells you he's trying to really get into one of these. And there's a changeup right there.
Did not get cheated with that swing.
No, he didn't, but it's the same pitch that they just previously threw.
Two and 2 on Kiko Romero. Base is full for Arizona. Meyer, the pitch. Reaches for it, taps it foul. I guess it's a good sign when you check the numbers of Romero. He has more RBIs than he does hits.
Well, who would you want up right now if you're Arizona?
The guy at the plate?
Right here.
Right? The guy leads the conference in RBIs?
This is the best dude in the conference.
Meyer. And he brings it. Another foul from Romero.
5th straight changeup. It's a changeup and or a sinker from Meyer, but it's the 5th straight. You know, you get to a point to where, again, you want to outthink yourself, right? Let's sneak that fastball in right now. You just throw it again.
Max Meyer. Another foul spoiled by Romero.
6th straight, right? And again,
but that one was a little quicker. It added a couple on the velocity. That was an 85-mile-per-hour pitch.
But again, if you see a hitter, and Kiko obviously one of the best in the conference, but you see him, his timing is not good on this particular pitch, and it hasn't been. So just keep throwing it.
Spoiling pitch after pitch. Fought off another.
Well, that's a fastball, and you know what's the difference? Roxy Bernstein is spoiled, so he has one of these charts of him to tell you how fast the pitch was. So that's a 93-mile-an-hour fastball from Meyer. So the difference is 10 miles an hour between the 6 straight changeups and the fastball. And Kiko did a good job just fighting that thing off right there.
Karen Caulfield at third. Nick McClary at second. Chase Davis at first base. Again, Myers 2-2. There's a ball missile to right. Forget it. Grand slam, Kiko Romero. Unloads on Max Meyer. (15-9) Arizona. And Romero has driven in 6 today. Home run number 15.
Well, I tell you what, if you ever wanted to see what an adjustment inside at bat looks like, it's Kiko Romero's at bat. Keep in mind, Roxy, and viewers out there, the previous pitch was a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. As we'll get a look at it, the side view. It was a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Where did Kiko Romero foul it off? Over the third base dugout, which tells you he was tardy on it, but it also tells you he was more sitting on soft. The same pitch that Meyer had thrown about 6 straight times. So that's an adjustment inside an at bat, and it paid off big time for the Cats and Kiko.
6 for Arizona here in the 5th. Emilio Corona 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run. Now it bounces, it's 2-0. So after Stanford tied the game, going back-to-back on homers from Rios and Moore, Arizona's come right back. And a terrific response by Chip Hale's team. 2-0 pitch in the air, left center field. This is trouble to get down. Eddie Park on a hop around first. Emilio Corona sprints into second base. And a double, and Mason White will now hit for the 2nd time in the frame.
Dare I ask, is 15 going to win this?
Do I hear 20?
Well, you were at this. I was in Korea, but you were at the Pac-12 the tournament last year where 20 runs didn't win a game, right?
North or south?
Why do you always keep saying it? It was
just curious.
Now you confused me. It was south. If it's north, I wouldn't be back.
You sure?
I wouldn't be back.
Mason White doubled to lead off this inning. He is homered today. And Meyer just misses off the outside. That 25-22 Oregon State UCLA game that lasted 5 hours and 44 minutes. Activity in the Stanford pen again. Way inside to Mason White. So a double to right led off the inning, and White now hitting for the 2nd time here in this 5th. Arizona scored 5, sending 9 to the plate in the 3rd. And a little nubber that trickles up the third base side, foul. This was Mason White earlier in the ball game.
Just a freshman. Tucson native, goes yard, Oppo.
Max Meyer, the pitch. Inside, staying put at second is Corona. It's 3-1. So the majority of these runs have been charged to Huber, who had a rough go of it today. First appearance in about a month for Huber, goes 2/3 of the inning, gives up 4 runs. Meyer, the 3-1 to White, swinging a foul at home plate. Full count, 2 outs. Max Meyer. The pitch. Another foul spoiled by White. 15 runs on 13 hits for the Wildcats, and we're only in the 5th inning. Arizona's hit a pair of 3-run homers and a slam today. Meyer. Again, the payoff to White. That's a ball the other way and a sharp single. Having to hold up, make sure he didn't get hit. And Corona scores easily, and White will get 2 out of this, actually. RBI single the other way. It's 16-9, Arizona. Second hit of the inning for Mason White.
This is just tremendous hitting. That's all it is. It's a ball away, hit away, with some pop.
Tony Bullard already an RBI single here in the 5th. Batting for a second time. So Mason White at second, Bullard takes ball 1.
You know, we see this Arizona Wildcat offense, and the main question is, how can this team have just nine wins in the pack, right? This offense is incredible.
Fouled back by Bullard.
I mean, it's a credit to Chip Hale and his staff and Toby DeMello, who works with the hitters for the Cats. I mean, these guys get in the box ready to hit, and they hit the ball everywhere.
1-1 pitch to Bullard. Missed inside from Meyer. Two and 1. Activity in the bullpen again for Stanford. Just low from Meyer to Bullard. 3-1. Tommy Splain would be next. Washington's come back. They lead Oregon 5-4. Top of the 6th in Eugene. Utah's come back 4-4 with Cal Poly. They're in the 7th. And Bullard got a piece and a full count now on the Cats' third baseman. So Tony Bullard hitting for the second time in the inning. It's the 11th Arizona hitter. Max Meyer. Here it comes. And Bullard gets tied up. The strikeout side retired. Not before Arizona scores 7 times in the 5th. Heading to the home half of the 5th, Stanford and Arizona, 16-9 Wildcats. Pac-12 baseball is presented by Watch Sports, the official live event guide of the Pac-12. Download today.
Should I download it?
You don't have it already?
No. What's wrong with you?
Do you know how to download it?
Well, you got to expose me like that in front of all the viewers? I mean, why would you do that to somebody that you occasionally say, well, you don't call me your friend, you say you know me. I call you my friend to other people.
Dustin Nett's done after an inning. New pitcher for the Wildcats, and it is Casey Hintz, who appeared briefly in the game here on Friday. And he takes over and a 7-run cushion after the Wildcats broke the 9-9 tie with 7 at the top of the inning. So Casey Hintz, two-way player, will face the top of the Stanford order here. Eddie Park, Tommy Troy, Carter Graham.
Well, as this game has gone inning by inning, every time the Cats have scored, the Cardinal have come back in their bottom half and scored. So that's 1, 2, 3 previous opportunities for a shutdown inning for Arizona that they have yet to get.
I think that was ball 1.
It was.
Eddie Park has walked twice and grounded out today. Two and 0 on Eddie Park. Good news for Arizona on the scoreboard. Washington State is now up 6-1 at Cal.
So if the score holds here and there, they would be tied, right? 8 for
Correct.
8-9 hole.
Correct. And Arizona would have the tiebreaker over Cal by virtue of the Wildcats sweeping the Golden Bears.
But now would
series.
Cal drop into a tie with Washington State?
No, because Washington State would go in front of Cal by a half game. Rolled to second base, handled by Mason White.
Well, there you see the volatility of the next week, or actually the next 4 games for Washington State, the Cats, and Cal.
And you could throw Utah in there because the Utes are still mathematically alive. And they would need a good weekend next weekend
And a lot
against
of
Oregon, which will not be easy. Bounce to third, Tony Bullard. Quickly, 2 outs. Carter Graham coming up here with 2 down.
The first baseman, Carter Graham.
Washington now a 7-4 lead at Oregon. Will Simpson a 2-run double for UW. They're going for the sweep. A 5-run 6 for Washington, and the Huskies have so much momentum right now.
And if this score holds up there in Eugene, that would be out of the last 6 games Oregon has played, they have 5. That would be 5 losses.
Oregon's beat up. Mark Wasikowski's team battling some injuries. It's 1-1 on Carter Graham. Graham has 2 hits and an RBI today.
There's an ASU USC score yet?
1-1. 5th inning. Graham bounces it foul.
And again, May's the best month in college baseball. We've talked about it over and over. But 2 weeks ago, folks, Oregon D1 baseball had them projected as a host. And possibly ASU. And in just 13 days, those 2 teams combined, ASU has now lost 5 straight. And Oregon, if this score holds, will have lost 5 out of 6.
Johnny Tincher just singled home a run, so it's 8-4 Washington now. 1-2 on Carter Graham. Tell you, the Huskies, they're playing themselves into a potential regional host. They'll host Cal next week. What a great setting that would be in Seattle, right on the shores of Montlake. As Carter Graham with a defensive swing rolls it to third, Tony Bullard. And a backhand nice pick by Kiko Romero. And shockingly, stunningly, we have a 1-2-3 inning. 16-9 Arizona. We had our first 1-2-3 inning of the day.
Football score. 3 field goals. Chip Kelly coached football team.
You're just trying to show off your math again, aren't you?
Well, that'd be, yeah. I mean, I'm very versatile, just so you know.
See, that's redundant, where English clearly wasn't your strength. You can just say redundant. You don't need to see very redundant.
Okay. Okay. No, hey, listen, I have no problem being corrected. I've been corrected my entire life.
Torin O'Haron, the freshman, takes over on the mound for the Cardinal. O'Haron is from Rockland. And O'Haron, after Meyer went a third of an inning, is the 5th pitcher used by Stanford today. And O'Haron will battle 8, 9, and 1. Tommy Splain, Garen Caulfield. And then the top of the order, Mac Bingham here for Arizona. As Stanford just looking for some outs out of the bullpen, and somebody can put up some zeros and give the offense a chance to come back now.
That's all they're trying to do is just get, I mean, again, they're just trying to get outs. Because we obviously know this Stanford offense can put up a 10 spot against anybody in the country.
Torin O'Haron has only worked 11 1/3 innings this year. Tommy Splain 0 for 2 with a walk will lead it off. And as we talked about at the top of the broadcast, this is an enormous game for Arizona. And if the Wildcats are going to be in Scottsdale in a week and a half from now, playing in the Pac-12 tournament, it would behoove them to get a win today. Popped up by Splain. At first base, Carter Graham in position, 1 out.
Dare I say that's the 4th consecutive hitter that's made an out. It has to be the first time that's happened.
5th. Well, the final out of the top of the 5th inning.
That's true. You're right. Doggone it. I was wrong again.
Garen Caulfield walked in that 7-run 5th. He scored a run. He's 1 for 2 today. Torin O'Haron on the mound. And he hits the top of the zone at 94.
Again, we've seen pitchers run out to the mound, and you see they have the arm strength. You see they have the secondary pitches. The problem is you see a great fastball right there at 93, but it's just consistency. Can they duplicate it? Can they throw it again in the same spot? And so far, a lot of them haven't.
And a tip into the glove for the strikeout. Caulfield down swinging.
That right there is Thomas Eager, and he's going to tell. Watch his pitches on the outside part. It's a slider, and it's perfectly located. But Thomas Eager will take, I guarantee you, he's going to take Torin O'Haron at some point in time during this week and show him that at bat and say, that, youngster, is how you pitch. And if you do that, you're going to be one of the best, not just on our club, but in the country.
Mac Bingham 1 for 4 with a run today. Already batting for the 5th time in 6 innings. Torin O'Haron, the pitch. And Bingham takes it on the inner half. It's amazing what happens when you start throwing strikes.
Jeez.
You pound the zone.
I mean, what is he, about 6'7", 6'6"?
O'Haron? No. 6 feet tall.
Oh.
Bingham turns it around into center. And a sharp single for Mac Bingham.
He just looks tall. But then I'm looking at you when I turn left, so everybody looks taller. Like,
really?
Yeah, well, he looks 6'5", and he looks like a foot taller than you. That's all.
Well, he's standing up on top of the mound.
Well, you're sitting on a box, so.
I'm sitting in a chair, actually. Nick McClary's reached base all 4 times today. 3 hits and a walk. He has scored 4 runs. Has a steal, a double. He's had a great day for Arizona. Skied slicing. Carter Graham gives it a look and watches it harmlessly fall out of play.
You know what Nick McClary is, and this is nothing, no surprise to you, Roxy, because you love the kid as I do, and as Chip Hale does, and as everybody that watches this youngster play. But Nick McClary is the kind of guy that 3 years down the road, you're going to turn on an MLB game and you're going to go, where's that? I remember him from somewhere. Won't be a high draft pick, but you're going to go, didn't I see him play? Oh, yeah. He played at Arizona.
1-1 on Nick McClary. Mac Bingham, 2 hits now. He's at first base. That's 15 hits for the Wildcats. 2-1 on McClary. O'Haron the pitch. And that one fisted on the ground, foul, as O'Haron tried to sneak the breaking ball by him. 2-2 now on Nick McClary.
Can't help but think how valuable that time was when the Cats were in the regional and super, when McClary had to be that guy playing shortstop a couple years ago.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Torin O'Haron missing outside in that 110-degree heat.
It was hot, but, well, we weren't there.
How would we know? We were sitting in the comfort of our home offices.
Yeah, we begged to go there, right? We begged to go to High
Jay
Corbett.
Johnson even tried.
He did. High Corbett obviously is an iconic field in the country, let alone Tucson.
3-2, McClary bites it off. We'll do it again. Oregon State has gone in front. Kyle Dernetti an RBI single. 4-3 Beavs, still batting in the 6th at UCLA. Mac Bingham running again on the pitch. 3-2 with 2 down and Nick McClary. O'Haron, and it just missed. Boy, O'Haron thought he made his pitch, held that follow through. And there's 2 on with 2 out. And now here's Chase Davis.
That's the second consecutive time on a 3-2 count they've thrown McClary off speed with Chase Davis on deck on a 3-2 count.
3-run homer for Davis in the first. Drew a bases loaded walk in that 7-run 5th. Davis is 1 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch. Strike 1. .93 on the fastball from Torin O'Haron. Mac Bingham at second. Nick McClary at first. 2 down. O'Haron. 1 strike pitch. Davis lifts this back out of play.
2 consecutive fastball, 193, 192 at the upper part of the zone. You wonder if they'll stay up in the zone again with something hard or go soft right here. What would you do, Roxy?
I go throw it up, throw it to the top of the zone.
Okay.
Go for hard. Of course, he spiked it.
Took a little off that fastball, right? It's a 93, 94 is where he was. That's 88.
Changing the eye level. Maybe he'll go back up here.
His changeup. Okay, there you go. See, I told you you've been a skipper before.
Except if I make a mistake, it doesn't matter sitting up here.
Well, but
if Chip Hale or David Esker make a mistake,
they get screamed at.
It's a little different. A lot more responsibility when you're down there. Time is called. And a pitch clock violation on Torin O'Haron.
It's called a ball.
So it's an automatic ball, 2-2 for taking up too much time and not throwing before the pitch clock expired. You don't want to give Chase Davis any free pitches. And it's outside and the count is full.
All right, now it's a 3-2 count again for the second consecutive hitter. What do you got, Rox? What are you throwing?
Challenge fastball.
Fastball up.
Just somewhere in the zone. Just not down and in. Got him with something soft. And the strikeout. Heading to the bottom of the sixth. 16-9 Arizona. (16-9) Arizona in front. As we go to the bottom of the sixth for the Cardinal, will be Braden Montgomery, Alberto Rios, Malcolm Moore, and Kiko Romero, who at the Grand Slam in the fifth has driven in six today. He's got 74 batted in on the year. And with the RBIs, he is approaching the single season top 10 list. 75 is 10th. Eddie Leon back in 1966, who was an infield partner of Wes Clemens.
Oh, he was not, folks. Don't believe a word he says.
Mike Gatlin in 1975, and George Arias.
Georgie.
The dad of George Arias Jr., we saw pitch yesterday, also tied for 10th as Braden Montgomery bounces one foul. The single season RBI leader, Wes, in Arizona history is?
I'm going to get Shelley Duncan, maybe? Is he on that list?
Shelley Duncan has the 8th most in a season, 78.
Okay, hold on. Initials?
It'll probably give it away. He played before you at Arizona.
Stegman?
No.
Ron Hassey?
Yes. Ron Hassey in 1974 drove in 86. Braden Montgomery near first base, handled by Kiko Romero.
You know, Ron Hassey was a tremendous Arizona Wildcat. I mean, we haven't seen him for a while. He lives in Tucson.
He still is a tremendous Arizona Wildcat.
And he is. But you know what Hass, when you think of Hass, right? You think, well, he was behind the dish in one of the most iconic home runs in the history of postseason play, the Dodgers and the Oakland Athletics, right? When Eckersley's on the mound.
You want me to cry?
No.
Alberto Rios slugs one to center. Back goes Mac Bingham. Onto the track, leaps, home run, second of the day for Alberto Rios.
Forgive me, folks, but this kid here, wow.
4 for 4, 2 homers, and he has driven in 6. Dead center field. 15 homers now for Rios. So with his 4 for 4 performance today, Alberto Rios is now hitting over 400.
And
401.
Leading the conference. So go back to the top 10. You got Hass at the top.
Here is Malcolm Moore, who's homer today, driven in 3.
Is Tito on there?
Your former roommate has the second most, tied with Hassey. So Hassey not only has the single season record, but then he also has the second most in another season. As Hassey and Terry Francona in 1980 drove in 84. Hassey did it in 76. Fouled away by Malcolm Moore. And then Francona also has the 4th most in a season. In 79, he drove in 81. Tied with somebody.
Trey?
Late 80s.
Trafton?
No. Tremendous college hitter.
Not Brad Mills. He was before.
Nope. 1989. 1-1 on Malcolm Moore.
Do I know him?
I don't know if you know him personally, but I guarantee you know the name. And I'm going to guess you know him personally. Just a guess. So he's going to take offense.
And if he's listening, he's going to blow up my phone in a second.
Malcolm Moore skies this one that's over toward the bullpen. And a long run, Chase Davis, who made that Superman catch on Friday, not going to get that one.
Well, you know, I don't. There's a part of me that wants to throw Chip Hale in there.
No, Chip's not on that list. He's on other lists.
I give up.
Alan Zinter.
Oh, Zent. Sorry, Zent. My bad. My bad. Oh, boy. Well, you know what? You just gave me an excuse. I don't know how many I drove in. I truly don't per year, but Tito was sitting in front of me, just so you know.
Tipped Malcolm Moore, and Malcolm Moore is saying it bounced. He wants them to check with the base umpires. And the plate umpire, Nathan White, is not going to check with him, says that I saw it, you tipped it in the glove, and Malcolm Moore wants the third base umpire to chime in. And looking down at third, Daryl Mason doesn't look interested in partaking. 2 outs. Drew Bowser singled in the fourth, 1 for 3 today. What list is Wes Clements on?
What?
Other than the most wanted list.
Well, that's a story with 2 outs. Did you start a story? We're going to bring that back. I mean, we're going to head to the top. There's no story.
I'm just stating facts.
Top of the 7th coming.
Out
16-10 Wildcats. Stanford got a run back and the homer by Rios. Torrin O'Haron continues. Kiko Romero, Emilio Corona, Mason White due up.
This is Kiko Romero, his last at bat, and we're going to take it back to the pitch prior to the home run swing. That's a fastball that's 93 miles an hour from O'Haron. And then he throws the changeup again, does O'Haron, after he had thrown it 5 straight times before. So Kiko made an adjustment inside the at-bat, and it's just beautiful hitting. And it kind of makes sense why Kiko is leading the Pac-12 in RBIs. Just a great hitter.
Huge day for Romero. First pitch popped up. Stanford might actually retire him. And left, there is Rios camping under it. And Romero flies out 1 away, and that'll get Emilio Corona to the plate. So we mentioned that the only list you're on in Arizona's single season top 10 list.
Go ahead.
You walked 56 times in 1979.
Really?
Correction, 1980. 7th on the list, tied with Brad Mills and Don Zimmerman.
Well, I'm fortunate to be on any list on that school. But, well, you know, I told you, like I said, and I truly mean this when I say this, I do not know any of my numbers in college. I don't know.
Do you remember what number you wore?
22.
Out to center, backing up, Eddie Park giving ground, and backpedaling makes the catch at straightaway center.
It was on my license plate. West 22 was my license plate.
Really?
Yes.
You did that?
Of course I did that.
You're one of them?
I'm 19 years old. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
So Chip Hale, by the way, has got the top spot in one category in single season.
Hits?
Nope.
Runs?
Nope.
On base percentage?
Nope. Sacrifice flies.
Well,
he had 10 sac flies in 1986. Fouled away by Mason White.
Well, Chipper didn't punch out at all. He put the ball in play. But now, I thank you for this, because now I have an excuse.
Stroll down memory lane for Mr. Wes Clements.
Well, I have an excuse now for RBIs, because Tito was in front of me. Literally.
You're blaming him.
Well, yeah.
You're blaming Tito.
He hit 3, I hit 4, and Tito, took my RBIs away. I mean, can you find out how many RBIs I had that year? Did Tito had 85?
That I can't find out.
No.
Fouled off by White.
Doesn't Baseball Reference or Baseball Cube, one of those two has your college numbers? Maybe somebody on Twitter will tell us.
0-2 on Mason White. Homer today for White. 3 hits. And a ball and 2 strikes the count. 1979, he drove in 50.
Keep going. And then what?
Asking our producer Jeff.
Whoa.
He's doing so many jobs. And you really want him looking this stuff up. He had 67 in 1980.
Okay.
Under the glove of O'Haron. And it skips past the sliding Owen Cobb into center. And a big day for Mason White continues. A 4-hit game for the freshman second baseman.
Third baseman Tony Bullard.
Here comes Tony Bullard now. 16 hits for the Wildcats.
And what's the top 10? To get to the top 10?
In RBIs?
Yeah.
75. You're not going to get there.
Oh, I blame it on Tito. 67 when he had 85, right?
One 1-0 and Tony Bullard. So again, Arizona will pack up after this game, fly down to Orange County, take on UC Irvine tomorrow, and then host USC Thursday, Friday, Saturday to end the regular season. And trying to get some momentum into next weekend, which is going to be pivotal.
And I tell you what the Cats are going to be trying to do when they go play UC Irvine is be the first team in the pack to beat UC Irvine this year.
Bullard in the air to right. Backing up, Braden Montgomery. Still going back, now moving in. Makes the catch. And Torrent O'Haron's put up a couple of zeros. To the last of the 7, 16-10 Cats. Home half of the 7th for the Cardinal, 8-9-1. Henry Gargis. Owen Cobb, Eddie Park do, but it looks like we'll get a pinch hitter in Cole Hinkleman to lead off the bottom of the 7th for Stanford. You want to keep going down this road? The career batting leaders. Here's what Chip Hale leads Arizona history in.
Okay.
This is how special Chip Hale was as a player and how decorated he was. Chip Hale played the most games in Arizona history.
Right.
255. Played 255 in a row.
4-year starter.
Almost 1,000 at-bats, 978, the most in Arizona history. He scored the second most runs in U of A history. Chip Hale had the most hits in an Arizona uniform. The most walks by an Arizona batter. The most sacrifice flies by an Arizona batter. The most total bases.
He was good. Chipper was obviously one of the best.
Cole Hinkleman will pinch hit here to lead it off, batting for Henry Gargis. And there's a strike to Hinkleman, another senior from Sammamish, Washington, as Hinkleman has come up with some big at-bats this year for the Cardinal. Hasn't played since April 29th, as Hinkleman had the game-winning homer in a game over in Berkeley against Cal as Stanford was down to their last strike in the 9th inning and launched a 3-run homer. 0-2 from Hintz is in the dirt, ball 1.
Trivia question.
Okay.
MLB Hall of Fame, Arizona Wildcat. Who is it?
Trevor Hoffman.
Very good. Hoffy.
Comebackers speared by Casey Hintz. Underhands for the out. One away, and Hintz has done a really good job for the Wildcats since coming in.
He really has. Gotten ahead, thrown strikes, which is always a formula for success on the mound. Getting ahead in the count and filling up the strike zone.
Owen Cobb today is 0 for 3. Stanford shortstop. And he lifts this one behind second, going out. Mason White. 2 gone.
If you've just joined us, I want to take this time to just wish all the mothers a very, very happy Mother's Day. Where would we be? I mean, moms are the best, quite frankly. I mean, my mom raised us all, no longer with us, but she is with us on a daily basis. But
nice ceremony earlier honoring the baseball moms here at Sunken Diamond on top of each dugout.
that was awesome.
Luckily, I'll be able to have Mother's Day dinner with my mom here today and my wife.
You are fortunate.
I am very fortunate.
And I will say,
Eddie Park clubs one to right field. Back is Corona. Eddie Park has left the yard. 5th for Eddie Park. 16-11.
Home run
This is a sneaky part of Eddie Park. I mean, you look, he's a prototypical leadoff guy, the contact guy. He gets on base, hits the ball in the gap, runs everything down in center field. But for me, it's his hands. They're tremendous hands. And at the next level, you're going to see some more power, in my opinion, from Eddie Park. Get a look at it here. Is the fastball in?
4 homers for Stanford today. Tommy Troy, the hitter now for the Cardinal. Homers by Rios, who's hit 2, Malcolm Moore, and Eddie Park. Arizona with homers from Chase Davis, Mason White, and the slam from Kiko Romero.
But back to moms. If you're out there, if you haven't called your mom, pick up the phone right now and call her. We're not guaranteed anything on this planet. If you have a mom, call her.
Just off the outside to Tommy Troy. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and the Stanford third baseman. Casey Hintz missed down and in a full count. Stanford looking for some base runners here, down 5 in the 7th. In this big game, a win today for Arizona would go a long way toward them. As Tommy Troy takes strike 3 called. He didn't like it.
It's a good pitch right on the bottom of the zone by Casey Hintz, and the Cats are hanging on 16-11 as we head to the top of the 8th.
On to the 8th inning, David Esker has some words for the third base umpire, Daryl Mason. Now going back to the first base dugout, some frustration from the reigning Pac-12 Coach of the Year.
Well, I don't think he liked that when Malcolm Moore thought that ball was fouled off, that he fouled off, and he just wanted no part of it. He's like, no, I'm not even going to deal with it. I'm not going to come down and talk to you.
Torrin O'Haron continues on the mound. Tommy Splain, Garen Caulfield, and Mac Bingham due for Arizona here in the 8th. Splain is 0 for 3 with a walk.
Got some trivia for you, though, from Twitter. I mean, is it reliable? I'll let you know, and then we can find out.
Torrin O'Haron delivers strike 1.
Now, when we were talking about my license plate, right, in college, it was West 22. Well, Tony Lima of Twitter said that when he was a youngster, he was in the parking lot and he saw Will Clark getting into his car, his Porsche, and it was an orange Porsche, and his license plate says Clark 22. So me and Will.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Fouled back by Splain.
You know, 22 is the best number in the world.
Scared to say that was my basketball number.
Oh, no, you're not. Please.
Yes,
you know, oh, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
2 balls, 2 strikes to count on Splain.
You're kidding me.
I am not.
You had the same number as me?
It's a scary thought. That's why I didn't want to go there.
Jeez. I don't even know if I'm depressed or happy, or I'm really at a loss for words right now.
2-2. And a full count on Splain. Gone to the 7th in LA. Arizona State, USC tied at 1.
Big game. Big game.
Fouled off by Splain. Top of the 7th at UCLA. Oregon State 7, UCLA 5. It was Cody Del Vecchio now on in relief For the Bruins, we mentioned earlier the appearances for Nets, third in the conference. Del Vecchio for UCLA is the most appearances.
Well, the
That's
Bruins,
in the dirt, a leadoff walk for Arizona, the 8th.
well, the Bruins, if you haven't paid attention to them this year, they've had a plethora of injuries. And it's been on their position players and their pitching staff. And John Savage just trying to hold the troops together.
Bottom of the 7th, Ducks trying to rally 8-5 Washington, leading Oregon. Garen Caulfield, the batter, 1 for 3 with a walk and a run.
So if we go through the pack projections to be in the field of 64.
Okay.
Stanford obviously is a given.
Yeah.
Oregon State's a given.
Yeah. I'd say
Washington is a
now.
given.
They played their way in.
Oregon.
Yeah. 1-1 on Caulfield.
Should be a given. ASU is the one that I think deserves to be in there, but I will say this. You cannot finish the season getting swept at home, losing a series on the road to USC and losing a series at home to UCLA.
They've got a little more work to do.
Yeah, they have some work to do.
Better about their situation.
They do.
Caulfield fouls it off.
And Willie Bloomquist has done a great job with the Sun Devils in a hurry. I mean, they were ranked just 3 weeks ago. So was USC for that. I mean, Andy Stankiewicz is just, he was the right guy for that job. And boy, he has turned that program around in a hurry.
And they're in the conversation, USC.
100%. They can win this series, which would be back-to-back series wins against Oregon and ASU.
Strike 3 call to Caulfield, and he's not happy with the plate umpire, Nathan White.
Well, Nathan White walked after Caulfield right there, and it's starting to get a little chippy, isn't it? Third game of his series.
Did he say Happy Mother's Day?
How cool was that, what Stanford did, right? They brought the mothers of Arizona Wildcats, put them on the dugout. Stanford, mothers on their dugout. That was really cool.
Mac Bingham, couple of hits today. He scored a run. And way outside from Torrin O'Haron.
Out of all the guys that's come out of the Cardinal bullpen, this youngster on the mound right now has been the most impressive for me. I mean, granted, he's had trouble, struggled with his command, but what comes out of his hand, I mean, he's got a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, a tremendous slider, and he mixes a changeup in with those two.
Two 2-0 to Bingham. In there from O'Haron at 92.
But you know what's interesting about the postseason? There's always somebody that surprises you when you make a run in the postseason in college baseball, right? There's somebody who comes out of nowhere and says, where's this guy been?
Like, for example, Trevor Haskins had the walk-off hit to win the regional for Stanford last year.
Mm-hmm.
Freshman who played sparingly. I'd say this strike zone has expanded as the game has gone on.
Well, and again, here's what I will tell you. If this is getaway day, which it is in college, right? I mean, Arizona goes home, or actually they go up the coast down south to UC Irvine, and then no midweek game for the Cardinal. But if this is a getaway day in pro baseball in the minor leagues, for that matter, the big leagues, you got to swing the bat. And you, as a hitter, you know when that zone is opened up a little bit, so you just adjust. You don't like it as a hitter, but you just adjust. And we're not suggesting that it's opened up. We're just suggesting that it could have.
No, I'm saying it has.
Okay, well, you did. I'm not.
Full count on Bingham with 1 out. No, I will say it's opened up for both sides. It's not just one way. Full count, runner at first. Splain takes off. Bingham skies it. in foul ground. Carter Graham going back, and Graham cautiously going after it, and maybe could have had it, but I will say that Carter Graham went after that cautiously because of what happened in the postseason last year. I think it still has to resonate with him when he went after a pop-up like that against Texas State in the regional last year and went slamming into the fence and hurt his knee. And that was remarkable that Graham was injured in the Saturday night game against Texas State. And Stanford wasn't sure if they were going to have him at all the rest of the way, didn't know how bad it was. Carter Graham, and he went barreling into that short side fence near the bullpen. As Bingham sends this one out to right center. Eddie Park chasing it down. Back to first goes Splain. And there's 2 outs for Nick McClary, who's yet to be retired today.
Well, as you mentioned with Carter going on a pop-up, and you, like you said, in his mind that he has that memory, the best way to offset that is to get to the fence as quick as you can, right? Because now you know where the fence is, and then you'll pick up the ball and you come back to get it. But if you keep drifting and drifting and drifting, you are going to hit that fence eventually.
And he had to come out of the game against Texas State. It was game 4 of the regional. And that was the game that Texas State beat Stanford 5-2 on the Saturday night. And went colliding with that fence. And was getting checked out, getting treatment overnight and the next day. Did not play in that elimination game against UC Santa Barbara. But then miraculously was available in the night game against Texas State on Sunday night. And Carter Graham homered twice in that game. In his first at bat, he crushed one off Tony Roby for a homer. And then he hit another one in the 4th inning of that game against the Bobcats to force Stanford won that game 8-4 to force the game the next night. And he was back in the lineup as the DH, even though he played only as the DH on Sunday night. And Stanford won that elimination game on the regional final, that game 7, with that miraculous comeback in the bottom of the 9th. And McClary takes low ball forward. He walks on 4, and there's 2 on with 2 out for Chase Davis.
Well, Carter had a tremendous year. He led the pack in home runs last year.
And here comes Thomas Eager. You notice he put on the short sleeve sweatshirt over it, maybe to change the luck for the pitchers. Pitching change for the Cardinal. 16-11 Arizona, leading 2 on 2 out in the 8th. Stanford, pitcher number 6 coming in.
Today at pack-12.com/tickets.
Senior lefty Nicholas Lopez takes over on the mound for Stanford. He's from Redwood City and went to Sarah High School close by. And Lopez, the senior, the 6.91 ERA on senior day, getting a chance here to keep this a 5-run deficit for Stanford after nice job by Torrin O'Haron. 2 2/3 innings, gave up a couple of hits, struck out 3.
Yeah, I like what I saw from him. And if Stanford, in my opinion, Stanford goes deep in the postseason, O'Haron is going to be a part of it.
Now Lopez coming in. It's been Dugan, Scott, Huber, Meyer, O'Haron, now Lopez. And the left-handed batting Chase Davis crushed a 3-run homer back in the 1st inning. Come up with 2 on and 2 out.
But, you know, you talked about postseason, right? We can't have, it's exhausting if you're out there probably, and not again talking about postseason, but they're so important. But maybe Thomas Eager wants to see what Lopez is going to do left on left against Chase Davis, because there will be situations in the postseason where you need a left-hander to come in and get one left-handed hitter out.
2 on, 2 out. Lopez, a 6'4" lefty. Good pitch for strike 1. Oregon State has blown it open now in LA. They lead UCLA 12-5 as Mason Guerra. A 3-run double for the Beavers.
Well, I would say they are hosting for sure, unless something bad happens next week.
They completely stumble against Western Carolina.
Right. And they can't. They can ill afford to do that.
Cal Poly beat Utah, by the way, 6-4 as the Mustangs take 2 out of 3 from the Utes. Davis into the shift. Wicked hop, and it gets away from Bowser. That one skipped on him. Coming in, Tommy Splain around third. Nick McClary coming all the way in and ending up at third base, Chase Davis. Now, Bowser was there to try to field it in the shift, and that ball shot up and ate up Stanford's second baseman. That was a wicked hop for Bowser.
It was. We'll see what they score it.
First baseman, Kiko Romero.
For me, because of the bounce, that's a hit.
We'll get a look at this is Chase from the box.
And it will be a hit as watch this ball just shoot up on Bowser. Strike to Kiko Romero.
Yeah, it's just a bad hop. I mean, you're fortunate that Drew doesn't get hit in the face on that ball.
So that will be a hit. And 2 batted in for Davis on a triple. 18-11 Arizona.
It's the shortest triple I've ever seen.
And you feel for Davis that it just missed from Lopez.
Well, let me put it this way. That's the first triple I've ever seen hit on the ground in the 3-4 hole. Ever in my life.
Chase Davis is driven in 6 today. Strike 3 called. Outside edge is Lopez. A drop down crossfire. Gift for Arizona, up a touchdown.
On Pac-12 Network.
So 2 more for Arizona. 18-11. Wildcats lead it. And for the Cardinal, heart of the order, Carter Graham, Braden Montgomery, Alberto Rios due up.
First baseman, Carter Graham.
Carter Graham, a couple of hits today and an RBI. He's 2 for 4 with a run. Casey Hintz continues on the mound as Graham takes a look at strike 1. There is activity in the bullpen for Arizona. One ball, 1 strike, and again, Arizona needs to win this game. Stanford would like to. Arizona needs to win it. One ball, 1 strike. Pitch.
I'm not going to mention any numbers because they've already jinxed something already. Earlier.
What are you jinxing?
Remember you called me a jinx because I mentioned that about Chase Davis,
I
right?
wasn't the only one.
Well,
okay. Fouled off by Graham. He already extended his hitting streak, Graham, so, all right, what else you got?
What else have I ruined?
Yeah, or potentially could ruin.
Well, Arizona's record after leading after 7 is very good.
That ball's solidly skipping past McClary in a 3-hit game for Graham. Lead-off base runner for Stanford.
Now batting, the right fielder.
Here is Braden Montgomery. He scored 3 runs today. He's 1 for 3.
So now if you're Arizona and Chip Hale, what you're trying to do with a 7-run lead here, you got to get 6 more outs. And so all you're trying to do is get outs. And I know it sounds simple, but for me, what you're going to do is you're not trying to get a double play here. You're going to play your infielders a little bit deeper than normal just to be able to cover more ground, just to be able to get an out.
1-0 on Braden Montgomery. And he gets a piece of that one. 1 ball, 1 strike.
What I used to do also is just bring in my outfielders. And you might say, well, what are you, crazy? It's Braden Montgomery, right? He's got a lot of power. Well, what gets teams back into games where they're chasing a lot of runs, it's not the home runs. It's the dunkers, the balls that fall in front.
You want base runners.
Right.
You don't necessarily want, okay, 200-run homer would be great, but
right, but
Montgomery checked his swing and a pitch in the dirt, and an appeal, no swing, so wild pitch advances ground.
But it's the dunkers, the jam shots, the bloopers that extend innings and get you base runners.
Walks.
If Braden
That's what Stanford's looking for, just base runners. Keep the line moving.
Actually, the only way you're going to make comeback is with base runners. So again, like I said, I used to move my outfielders in.
3-1 on Braden Montgomery. Casey Hintz, freshman on the mound. And that's ball 4. So a single, wild pitch, walk. Stanford has something going here for Alberto Rios, who was 4 for 4, 2 homers, and he's driven in 6 today. And first, here comes Chip Hale.
Well, this is what Alberto Rios did his last at-bat. This is just a bomb to dead central. That's actually his first home run of the game. And then, this is his second to central.
Oops, I did it again.
You did it, not Britney Spears. Yeah. Is she on your playlist?
No. Pitching change, Arizona goes to the bullpen. Up 7, bottom of the 8th inning. Stanford trying to mount a comeback. The Pac-12 champions trying to rally late here. They clinched the conference title yesterday. Down 18-11, bottom of the 8th, 2 on, nobody out. Trevor Long, who's got 4 saves this year out of the bullpen for the Wildcats, and a 4.76 ERA.
Been real good. When you take a look at his numbers, just 8 walks in 34 innings. Forget the ERA. I mean, that's across the country right now. If you have an ERA in the 4s, you've had a real good year, and 25 punch-outs to go along with the 34 innings. And he comes in. Yes, it's a 6-run lead for the Cats right here, but against this Cardinal lineup, Roxy, or 7-run lead, I should say, it's just, you can't feel comfortable at all.
Alberto Rios, average up over 400 now on the year. Long pitched here, an inning and 2/3, giving up a run on 2 hits on Friday night in the 9-8 win. He took the loss, and he walked Rios intentionally in that game.
Well, you see 401 now, 15 home runs, 58 RBIs, but if you paid attention, first pitch, he is swinging.
Strike 1.
And there he goes. I mean, it's a good adjustment by Arizona. I mean, Alberto has been swinging at pitch 1 the entire year, and Arizona throws a good breaking ball on pitch 1.
Carter Graham at second, Braden Montgomery at first. 1-1 on Alberto Rios. 4 for 4 today. And Rios this weekend, 7 for 11. He's hit safely in 12 in a row now. Multi-hits in 7 of the last 9 for Alberto Rios. And he takes ball 2. He is 27 for his last 47.
And he needs a triple for the cycle.
Fooled him there. It's 2-2.
Good slider right there.
USC is taking the lead on Arizona State, 2-1 in the 8th. Long the pitch, and Rios fouls it off at the plate. So Arizona with 3 runs in the first, 5 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, 7 in the 5th, and 2 in the top of the 8th.
That's all?
That's it. 18. That's up to 18. Stanford 2 in the first, 3 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and single runs in the 6th and 7th, and Rios laces one foul.
I'm sure when Chip Hale brought in Trevor Long, he said, hey, I need 6 outs. Because my guess is that Long's going to be out there for as long as he continues, pardon the pun, getting people out.
Intentional or unintentional on the punt?
Got lucky. At least I admit it.
Trevor Long. And Rios takes inside.
Now you're in a danger zone. You got a 7-run lead, you got no outs and a 3-2 count. Cannot ill afford to give a free pass to Rios.
There he comes. And Rios, slow roller, cut off by Tony Bullard. And he throws low to first. Nice dig at first base by Kiko Romero.
Wow. I tell you, Bull is out there affectionately known to the Cats as Bullard. He's frustrated with himself. Gets over to that ball, but bad throw in the dirt, and Kiko Romero bails him out. And folks, this might seem like it's very minor part of the game. If Kiko doesn't pick this ball, you got to run in and second and third and a 6-run lead with no outs.
Against a team that leads the league in home runs.
My, what a pick.
Graham at third, Montgomery now at second, and Malcolm Moore takes outside. Moore homered back in the 4th inning. He's 3 for 4 today, and like you mentioned with Rios, Malcolm Moore needs a triple for the cycle.
When does that happen? And I will say this, no offense against Malcolm, he's a catcher. The ball's going to have to get stuck somewhere out there in the gap for him to go over to third, get that triple. He's going to have to bounce around a little bit.
Just missing. So after it looked like the strike zone was expanding,
per you,
it's now
shrinking,
getting a little bit tighter. And Malcolm Moore walks on 4. They're loaded for Drew Bowser. Bowser 1 for 4 in the ball game.
Number 2, Drew Bowser.
Here comes Bowser. Stanford trying to claw back. 18-11 Wildcats. 1 out in the 8th. And Bowser crushes one. That one's headed for San Jose. Grand slam for Bowser. And Stanford's back in the game. A missile off the bat of Bowser, his 10th of the year. 5 homers for Stanford today. And Drew Bowser now gives Stanford 6 batters that have 10 or more home runs.
Incredible. It's incredible. And Chip Hale's going out to the mound. Most of the time when Chip goes out there, it's because he's going to make a pitching change. I'm not sure he's going to do that right now. I think he's going to talk firmly and say, and he's a little animated out there. He's saying, no, this is not going to happen. Not today. You're not coming out. Get it done. But you know what this does for the Cardinal right now?
Gives him life.
Well, it does give him life, but it also, and we'll get a look right here. This is Bowser's grand slam, but Ryan Bruno has not thrown this whole series, but my guess is he's going to get up right now, because now you're only chasing 3, and you got 6 outs, 7 outs, 8 actually left.
Cole Hinkleman takes a strike. He grounded out as a pinch hitter in the 7th and stays in as the DH.
Excuse me, 5. Yeah, math was my best subject.
I thought you said it was already.
It is. I just told you. I corrected it. Again, that's the beauty of life. You get to correct things when you make a mistake.
One and one on Hinkleman. pitch. Hinkleman liner to center. Going back, Mac Bingham has a beat on it. And there's 2 gone.
So what do we do know for certain? If Long retires Cobb right here, we do know one thing, that the top of the order will be coming up for the Cardinal in the bottom of the 9th. So if you're Chip Hale, right now you're trying to get this final out here and put some points on the board in the top of the 9th.
I think right now, yes, this is an offensive conference for David Esker, but he's buying time for Ryan Bruno. Now that Stanford has made it a 3-run game, and Bruno's tuning up, so he's just given more time for Bruno to get loose and get ready to get into this game.
It's just some gamesmanship from David Esker. I mean, we see it on both sides. We saw Chip Hill go out, get a little animated with Long on the mound, basically. Number one, to calm the situation down, but tell him, hey, you're my guy. You're out here, so just get it done. And then David Esker on the other side, to your point, just buying more time for Ryan Bruno because he's going to be coming in this game.
Cobb is 0 for 4 today, as Trevor Long missing with ball 1.
Remember way back when I said 8 runs wouldn't win this game? It was 8-2 at the time.
18 might not win it.
Right.
Strike to Cobb.
Good fastball on the outside part by Long.
91 from Trevor Long. 1-1. Top of the order on deck. And Cobb hits a bullet on one hop to short, handled by McClary. And he throws out Cobb, but Stanford is back in the game. A slam from Drew Bowser as we head to the 9th. Arizona 18, Stanford 15. On to the 9th, 3-run lead for Arizona as Ryan Bruno, Stanford's closer, comes in here. His first appearance of this series. And for the hard-throwing lefty, Bruno, 4.81 ERA is 6 saves, 41 strikeouts in 24 1/3. Walks were an issue and wildness early in the year, but he has found his groove recently.
He really has. I mean, he was up in the pen. He heated up on Friday night in Game 1, and then they set him down. But he's up, and he is in this game for one reason: the 4 spot that the Cardinal put up in the bottom half of the 8th inning.
Last 10 appearances for Bruno. He's gone 14 1/3 innings. He has struck out 26, given up 3 hits and no runs.
Is that any good? Say those numbers again.
Last 10 appearances spanning 14 1/3 innings. No runs, 3 hits, 26 strikeouts. He was lights out in the postseason, a 1.69 ERA, 20 strikeouts in 10 2/3 last year. And Bruno will face Corona, White, and Bullard, 5, 6, and 7 in the Arizona order.
And this is the 8th Stanford pitcher to be on the mound today.
Ryan Bruno, after a third of an inning from Nicholas Lopez, the junior from Wellington, Florida, out in South Florida.
If you're wondering what does Bruno feature, up to a 99 at times mile-an-hour fastball, probably going to sit around 95. Tremendous changeup to go along with it, and he'll mix in a breaking ball every once in a while.
Emilio Corona, 2 for 5 with an RBI. He scored 2 runs today. 94 on ball 1. Fouled away. 95 from Bruno, and Ryan Bruno can be very animated at times. got contentious and
What do you mean?
emotional and heated between the two sides when they played the regional here last year between Bruno and Texas State. Or in a strike, took something off.
That's a good slider right there. It's 88. Normally, you're not going to see it. And you see 88 up on the board, and every time it's going to be a sinker. That's a slider.
Ball and 2 strikes on Corona. The pitch is tied. $18 runs, 17 hits and error for Arizona. 15 runs, 15 hits, no errors for Stanford. On the ground, left side, cut off by Tommy Troy. And he throws out Emilio Corona. There's one gone.
Second baseman Mason White.
Mason White, he swung it well today, and he needs a triple for the cycle. 2 singles, or actually a single, 2 doubles, and a home run for White. He's driven in 4.
3 players in this game that are triple away from the cycle. The other 2 are Alberto Rios and Malcolm Moore. I learned that from you.
Strike 1.
You taught me that, right? You can't say there's 3 people and only mention 1.
1 strike pitch. Up and in at 99 from Bruno. Final over in Berkeley, and a good result on the out-of-town scoreboard for the Wildcats. Washington State beats Cal 7-1. Pulled through the right side. And a base hit. How about Mason White? A 5-hit day for the Arizona freshman second baseman.
Well, you know the beauty about this, if you're Chip Hale, and listen, Chip Hale and his staff understand the type of baseball player they have in White. But when you're left on left against one of the best left-handed relievers, not just in the pack, in the entire country, you stay in there and you get a base hit against that lefty. I mean, it says so much about who they have in a baseball player.
Tony Bullard, the hitter, 1 for 5 with an RBI and a run. USC has scratched out another run. They lead Arizona State 3-1, still batting last of the 8.
Wow.
Now 13-5, Oregon State at UCLA in the 9th. Mighty cut from Bullard.
It's a good change up there on the outside part. So if that score holds at Dato Field, that'll be the 6th straight loss in conference for ASU. Oregon State, if that score holds, will solidify a hosting, in my opinion. They'll be a host.
Another off speed from Bruno.
And how many will that be in Corvallis? It seems like an annual event, doesn't it?
Well, Stanford's got the longest streak going right now.
What is
hosting.
it? What is it?
This year will be 6 in a row. Reaching forward, and that one's fouled off by Bullard. 97.
But you know what's interesting about Corvallis, right? It seems like every time they host now, it seems like Vandy goes there, right? Vanderbilt out of the SEC. It seems like there's an SEC team that goes there.
Well, they had Auburn there for the Super last year. As Bullard cues that one foul, and Auburn stunned the Beavers there last year. One and 2 the count. Mason White at first, and Bullard drives that one out of play. That was when Cooper Jerpy, who was held out for game 2 because he was battling an illness last year for Oregon State, and gave Mitch Canham and the Beavers everything he had, willing them into game 3, and then a tough heartbreak for Oregon State to lose a winner-take-all game 3 on their home turf against Auburn. This could be 2. Owen Cobb flips out at second base. Close. Mason White wants him to challenge.
Boy, that's interesting. Look at that freshman, right? You see how active he is, and why wouldn't you? You got an opportunity to review, and Chip Hale's going to do it, and why wouldn't you? And this is the biggest time. I mean, you could argue it's the biggest game of the year right now that we're playing for Arizona, right? Take a look at it right there, but we're going to. Why wouldn't you use it? It's the difference between 2 outs and a runner at first, or 1 out in first and second.
And again, the ruling on the field was out. You need to see conclusive evidence to overturn it.
We'll get a better look at it right here. Where's the ball? He's on the bag now. I'm not sure that ball's in there, is it, Ross? When is he? He's on the bag. Now, there. Where's the ball? It's still up. It's in the air. It's not there. I have a feeling that this is going to be overturned. The ball's in. It's not. I have a sense. Of course, my eyes are not that good, but in this case, I think they are. I think they're going to overturn this call, and it's going to be first and second and 1 out. It will be a great challenge from Chip Hale, and again, why wouldn't you? Let's see what they decide. It's
Looks like we have a verdict.
It's pretty quick, too.
Yeah, the ruling on the field was out.
I think we're going to see 2 arms go point, and then there's going to be a safe call.
And our base umpires, that's our second base umpire, Scott Latender.
Yep, there you go.
Overturned. That'll be an error charge to Cobb.
The play at second is overturned. The runner is ruled safe.
So an E6 as Bullard reaches on the fielder's choice. And there's 2 on with 1 out for Tommy Splain. Washington trying to put away Oregon now. 11-5 Huskies still batting in the 9th. Johnny Tincher's driven in another run. And the Huskies trying to sweep the Ducks. Oregon will visit Salt Lake City next week. In Utah. Strike to Tommy Splain.
This is a little different type of game that Ryan Bruno would be normally brought into. Normally time when Ryan has been brought in, they're either tied or leading. They're chasing right now.
Just missed off the inside at 95.
Now that said, you know, conventional wisdom would say, well, what's the big difference? Well, mentally, it is a difference. It's a different situation. You would like to think you could just throw anybody out there. They're just robots. They're not.
Up and away to Splain.
And his command has not been what it was.
USC has opened up a 5-1 lead now on Arizona State. Andy Stankiewicz, Coach of the Year, or Jason Kelly?
Boy, can we wait till next weekend? I mean, so
We
much
can.
has to happen, right? Candidates? Absolutely.
Just off the outside for Bruno.
Well, a month ago, you would have said it's Willie Blomqvist, right? A month ago. So it's changed, but there's no question that Andy Stankiewicz is on that list at the top, and so is Jason Kelly.
Full count, 1 out.
And of course, David Esker. I mean, you can't assume just because they
Yeah.
have it, you still got to get the job done.
Just because they were picked to win the league and you just assume,
Right.
oh, it's... Eske's done a great, he was Pac-12 Coach of the Year last year, did a great job.
Well, you
he's
gotta
done a fabulous job this year.
Well, yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I think he's done a better job this year, to be honest with you.
Well, I think he has, and the reason why is because the pitching staff has struggled so much.
But you also lose Brock Jones. You lose Cody Huff.
You got a freshman catcher who's coming in here. He's catching every day.
Bruno with a changeup gets the strikeouts. You're gone.
But when you have a target on your chest, which is what the Cardinal had from day 1 of the season, you're picked to win. Doesn't mean you're going to win. It means that everybody believes you have the most talent.
But he also lost the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year in Alex Williams. 2 on, 2 out. Garrett Caulfield. 1 for 4 with a run scored. He's drawn a walk today. Plus, he lost the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year in the shortstop, Adam Crampton. Skied by Caulfield. Eddie Park taking charge. And Stanford heading to the bottom of the 9, chasing 3. 18-15, Arizona trying to hang on. Would be a huge lift and a huge win for U of A. 18-15, Arizona leading. We go to the bottom of the 9. Top of the order for Stanford against Trevor Long. Long trying to protect a 3-run lead. And a win by Arizona would put them into the field with 3 games to go as far as the Pac-12 tournament goes.
Where does it put them, in 8th?
Tied, it would put them in 9th.
In 9th.
Because they're a half game behind Washington State. Washington State beat Cal. Just gone final at Dato Field, 5-1 USC. Trojans finish off the sweep of Arizona State. The Sun Devils had lost 6 in a row, 5 straight wins for USC. Trojans now 16-11 in conference play.
Here's what I'll tell you. I had this conversation with our dear friend Mike Rooney of D1 Baseball, and
fouled off by Eddie Park, who homered in the 7th.
And he said this a month ago. Dare we try to leave the Trojans out if they win 16 in the pack of the
They got
postseason?
16 with 3 to go, and they're going to play Arizona and Tucson next weekend.
Right, so even if they lose the series to Arizona, that gives them 17, right? Assuming if they win 1 game. You can't leave them out. I mean, the metrics, they're sitting in the mid-50s right now, is USC.
Two and 1 on Eddie Park.
Dare I say this is the most important out that the Wildcats need in this game? The leadoff hitter.
On Eddie Park.
This ball has got to be right down Broadway and hope that Eddie Park hits it somewhere.
At somebody.
Well, yes, at somebody, somewhere. There it is. That's
fouls it off.
I mean, this right here, folks, is one where you just stand on the mound and say, I'm throwing a fastball. That's all it is. Trevor Long says, hey, I'm going to throw you a fastball down the middle, Eddie. Can you hit it?
Payoff pitch. Park fights it off.
I mean, there's no reason to throw anything off speed. We're going to take a look at Eddie Park's home run, his last at bat. Sneaky power is what I would say.
It's like deceptive speed.
Is that me?
And Park draws a leadoff walk. And Stanford has a start in the bottom of the 9th.
Now, see, just what that leadoff walk does, right? The Cats have a 3-run lead. Well, the tying run's on deck. But now here comes Tommy Troy. Now, Stanford is not a bunting for a hit team, right? But you have Carter Graham on deck. You have Bullard is playing deep at third base.
Strike 1.
Now,
chased by Tommy Troy.
Doesn't look like Tommy. You get a good look right there. See, Bullard's playing deep, right? See, Tommy Troy's not the bunting type of hitter, right? That's not how Stanford plays.
1 for 5, 2 runs today for Troy. It's now 0-2 on the Stanford third baseman. Tying run is in the on-deck circle for the Cardinals.
Excuse me, Ross. Real good sliders.
Got him again with the slider. Huge out for Trevor Long.
Well, we talked about what makes a good pitcher, and it's location and location. All of these sliders were in the same spot by Long. Great sequence by Long.
Carter Graham, 3 hits today, 3 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. Trevor Long wants to keep that tying run in the on-deck circle.
And that throw to first over there is just Trevor Long saying, hey, I'm not comfortable, buy me some time, because you really, if you're Arizona right now, again, this falls into, you need outs right now, so if you're Arizona, you want to play your infield deep, get them back on the grass, get outs. Not going to try a great slider again, but you're not trying to turn a double play here. It's great if it happened, but you're trying to get outs.
And with Eddie Park, I'd be shocked if he ran. His run means nothing. You've got to get the tying run to the plate.
Right, and with this Carter Graham, the odds of him hitting the ball down the right field line are slim and none, right? So that's why you're holding him, right? If it's a left-hand hitter, Chip Hale's probably not even going to hold the runner. You don't care about Eddie Park at all. You just care about getting out right now.
On the ground and through the left side, that will bring the tying run to the plate. A 4-hit game for Carter Graham.
So now this changes everything for Arizona, how they're going to play defense. Right now, Chip Hale's got to make a decision. Do we play no doubles in the outfield? And Chip's going to go out and talk. Or make a pitching change, one of the two.
There is activity in the bullpen. Braden Montgomery is the hitter. He has scored 4 runs today. As Chip Hale.
He's going to take the ball.
Is going to go to the bullpen. So a call to the bullpen to try to get the final 2 outs for the Arizona Wildcats. Tying run of the plate for Stanford. New pitcher for the Arizona Wildcats, Chris Barraza, out of the bullpen. As Barraza, the senior from Tucson, the transfer from New Mexico State. There his numbers on the year. 30 strikeouts in 22 innings. And Barraza, the chore to save the ball game in a lot of ways. Could save Arizona's season with a win today.
You're right. When you take a look at his numbers, and forget the ERA. Don't take your eyes off the top 2. And see, 22 innings, just 12 walks, and I'd say just 12. It's not bad for a reliever, but 30 punch-outs, right? But then you see it in the top 6.14 ERA. So it tells you that he has electric stuff coming out of his arm, but he has trouble locating. And if you're going to make a mistake, you don't want to make a mistake against Braden Montgomery, who's coming up right now, who is hot.
Final in Eugene.
Yes.
Washington has swept Oregon 11-5. The Huskies. Washington's won 6 straight. 16-10 in the league. 32-14 for Jason Kelly's Huskies.
Tremendous job.
And Oregon State pouring it on UCLA. 17-5. Beavers still batting in the 9th. So the Beavers, after losing the first one there, will win the last 2. That'll get them to 18-12 in conference play. Braden Montgomery, 1 for 3 in the ball game. He's walked, hit by a pitch. He has scored 4 runs. 2 on, 1 out, 18-15 Arizona here in the last of the 9th inning. And Braden Montgomery has homered in each of the last 3 games coming in.
Well, if you're Arizona, the only important thing in your mind, if you're playing outfield, you're playing defense, the only thing that's the most important thing to you right now is Braden Montgomery is the tying run. So any ball hit out there to the outfield, that's all you're thinking right now. You're thinking keeping the tying run off of second base.
Eddie Park at second, Carter Graham the runner at first base. Here is Montgomery digging in, overshift on by Arizona defensively. Fouled back by Montgomery. That was 94 from Chris Barraza.
You know, it's interesting. He warmed up when he warmed up. He was warming up around 89, 90 because we have the gun inside the booth here. But he's warming up at 89, 91, 90. First pitch, 94.
Trevor Long went an inning and a third. 0-2 on Montgomery, 95 from Barraza.
You know, I saw this youngster pitch up at Oregon State, and you're just like, wow. I mean, he can rush it up there, and it looks like he's got more in the tank, right? 94, 95.
As a slider high, 1-2 the count on Montgomery. Alberto Rios, by the way, is on deck for Stanford, his homer twice today.
Now, the one thing we did see right off the bat, the first 2 fastballs, Braden Montgomery was tardy on them. So why not just stay with it?
Did he go?
Goodness
No
gracious.
Swing on appeal, says Darrell Mason at third.
Here's what I'm going to say. I just turned my skipper hat on. Where's the pitch? Where is the pitch? Looks like a strike.
I think it was down.
No. If we can get another look at that, hopefully we can. Looked like it got part of the plate. Looked like a strike.
Strike 3 called. Fastball over the inside edge. Catches Montgomery at 97.
This kid, right? 94, 93, 97. But it looked very similar to the location on the slider, the previous pitch. But that right there, folks, that's when velocity and location just overmatch a hitter. It doesn't matter how great a hitter it is.
2 on, 2 out. Rios, the last hope for Stanford, the tying run of the plate. Alberto Rios, 4 for 5, has homered twice and driven in 6. Grounded out his last time up. Chris Barraza, slider for strike 1. Eddie Park at second. Carter Graham at first. Late on the fastball, 97 from Barraza. Arizona 1 strike away from salvaging the final game of this series. It would be a huge win for Chip Hale's Wildcats. 0-2 on Alberto Rios. Fastball drilled. Tie game. 3 home runs for Alberto Rios. He turned around 96, and Stanford has pulled even. Unbelievable.
It makes you speechless the entire game, right? I mean, this is Rios. This is 96 at the top of the zone, and Rios knows it. He turns to his dugout and says, hey, guess what? We're tied.
Malcolm Moore takes a strike.
And it's not, I don't want to say you can't fault Barraza, but in my opinion, you really can't. It's the same pitch that Rios was tardy on.
1 strike pitch from Barraza, bounced over the mound. Near second, handled by McClary. Throws out Malcolm Moore, and we're headed to the 10th. Alberto Rios, the dramatic. Stanford was down to their last strike. And Rios launches one. 18-18 to the 10th. A stunningly wild game at Sunken Diamond. We're headed to extra innings. Knotted at 18 as Stanford rallies. They were down to their last strike. And Chris Barraza and the Wildcats were 1 strike away from salvaging the finale of this series. Alberto Rios with his 3rd homer of the day. A 3-run shot. Rios just needs a grand slam for the home run cycle. As Rios in this game has driven in 9. He had 11 RBIs in a game earlier this year, a Stanford single game record. 18-18 to the 10th. Top of the order for the Wildcats. Mac Bingham, Nick McClary, Chase Davis against Ryan Bruno for his second inning. Mac Bingham, 2 hits. He scored a run today. Bruno missing with ball 1. Unreal. Tied at 18 in the 10th. 2-0 the count on Bingham. Stanford has hit 6 home runs in the game. And Rios has hit 3 of them. 2-0 from Bruno. And it's 3-0 now. Arizona, on the other hand, the Wildcats, they have hit 3 home runs today. 3-0 on Mac Bingham. And Bruno delivers strike 1 at the knees. 95 from Ryan Bruno. Looks like Drew Dowd is beginning to get loose in the Stanford bullpen. 3-1 from Bruno. Fought off by Bingham, and the count is full. Leading off the 10th. Oregon State, they're just pouring it on UCLA now. 21-5.
Well, I imagine John Savage is using position players right now, right? On the rubber.
And Mac Bingham draws a leadoff walk as Bruno missing with the changeup.
Well, we've talked about the leadoff walks, right? How many of those score? Big situation right here for Chip Hale. You have arguably your smartest, most dependable baseball player at the dish right now, McClary. Do you bunt, or do you try to score?
I let
3
it
or 4
swing
or
because
5?
the way this game is going, 1 might not be enough.
Well, here's what you're doing. You got to think about this. Chase Davis, as good as he is, that's Ryan Bruno left on left that you would set up if you bunted right now.
Way outside from Bruno, and it's got to be an incredibly uncomfortable at bat for a left-handed hitter against Bruno, and not just Davis, but then Romero behind him. Mac Bingham, short lead at first, the 1-1, and that's in there, the changeup from Bruno. Arizona scored 3 in the first on a Chase Davis homer. Stanford got 2 in the bottom of inning 1 to tie it, or rather to make it 3-2 after 1. 1-2 from Bruno. And McClary fights it off as Nick McClary has not been retired today. He is 3 for 3 with 3 walks. He has scored 5 runs.
He turns into a different person when he's got 2 strikes, when he's behind the count. He just fights. That's all he does. He just fights and fights and fights.
1-2 from Bruno. Got him.
Changeup. Beautiful changeup. I mean, listen, there are not too many people on the planet that are going to hit that pitch, and I'm including the big leagues. This is a 90-mile-an-hour changeup. And look at the location, folks. Wow.
Chase Davis, a 3-run homer in the first. He has driven in 6 today. 1 out, Bingham at first base, top of the 10th. So it's 3-2 Arizona after 1. It's Bruno, a soft toss over to first. The Wildcats then sent 9 to the plate, scoring 5 in the third. And jumped ahead 8-2. Mason White hitting a 3-run homer in that third inning. Stanford came back in the bottom of the third with 3. 2-run double from Alberto Rios. Bruno, another move to first. 8-5 Arizona after 3. Cats got a run on the top of the 4th to make it 9-5. Stanford tied it with 4 in the bottom of the 4th. Rios, a 2-run homer, and Malcolm Moore going deep. So 9-9 after 4. Strike at the knees to Davis. 96 from Ryan Bruno. Arizona turned around, sent 11 to the plate, scored 7 times in the 5th to go ahead 16-9. Grand slam by Kiko Romero. in that inning. Davis, top of the zone for a strike, 95. 0-2. Stanford got a homer from Rios, his second of the day, in the 6th to make it 16-10. Another in the 7th, a homer from Eddie Park to make it 16-11. Through 7. 0-2, and Davis, a liner to center that falls in front of Eddie Park. Mac Bingham stops at second, and a solid single by Chase Davis, who has a 3-hit game.
Well, you see
2 on, 1 out for Kiko Romero.
Excuse me, Rock, but you see Ryan Bruno, he's frustrated with himself. That's a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's middle, and Chase Davis can get to fastballs, especially if they're right there. And Thomas Eager's coming out there. I don't know what. It looks like the bullpen for the Cardinals is quiet. This right here.
Dowd was up.
I tell you what comes into. We'll see this his last pitch. This is a fastball, middle, and the last guy in the Cats lineup, you want to throw a fastball middle is Chase Davis. Get a look at it right here.
First baseman, Kiko Romero.
I'm interested where they play Tommy Troy at third base here, Roxy. Bingham at second base with some speed. Chase obviously can run at first. But if they back up Tommy Troy into that deep 6-hole right there, you could see a double steal here in a second.
Bingham at second, Davis at first, 1 out. Kiko Romero, a grand slam in the 5th. He is driven at 6. As that's just a bit low from Bruno. So it was 16-11 Arizona heading to the 8th. The Cats got 2 in the top of the 8th to make it 18-11. Drew Bowser's grand slam in the bottom of the 8th made it 18-15. 2-0 the count on Kiko Romero, and then Stanford was down to their last strike in the bottom of the 9th when Alberto Rios hit his 3rd homer of the day to tie the game. 3-run shot. 2-0 and Romero, 2 on, 1 out. Strike from Ryan Bruno.
That right there, some would say, is just not fair. Real good fastball on the outside part, but before you saw the alignment of the Cardinal defense.
Change up, 2-2.
But Tommy Troy previously had played Chase Davis almost to a shortstop and Kiko Romero, but David Esker said, nope, we're not going to give you a free stolen base, because with Bingham at second and Chase at first.
There's a chopper up the first base side. Carter Graham handles it near the bag for the out. Mac Bingham goes to third. Up to second goes Davis. And there's 2 outs. That will leave it up to Emilio Corona.
Now, here's the situation for you. Put your manager's cap on, Rocks.
Okay.
You got
I was going
Corona?
to ask you the question.
Well, you've been managing today a little bit. So, Corona, right-hand hitters coming up. First base is open, and left-handed freshman White is on deck. What are you doing?
I pitched to Corona very carefully. If he wants to chase my pitch, let him. And I have that much trust in Ryan Bruno to be able to work it. Swinging a drive to left, going back. Rios looks up. Arizona's gone back in front. Three-run shot, Emilio Corona.
That's his 8th home run of the season.
8th of the year, 21-18 Arizona. The Wildcats reclaimed the lead.
Well, what I was going to say is that more times than not, in that same situation, now we don't know if that was the case, there was any sign.
I think Emilio Corona's been thrown out of the game. Plate umpire Nathan White made a motion for Corona after he hit the home run. And keep in mind, the ejection also comes with a suspension, automatic. 3-run homer by Corona to give the Wildcats the lead. And Chip Hale very frustrated to see Corona thrown out of the game after the dramatic home run.
Well, we're trying, folks, to find out what Corona may have done and or gestured and or said. We'll get a look at it here. This is from the box. We can follow him around. He knows he's got it. Okay.
He clearly barked and said something in the direction of Bruno.
That's exactly what he did. He's still barking at him right now. And you know, with all due respect, it doesn't matter which side you're on, there's no place in the game for this.
So Corona, now that he's been thrown out of the game, has to leave the playing field, and that's why the holdup here.
But what I started to say when you said be very careful, right? Because first base is open more times than not. When they try to be careful, they make a mistake. So it's either you put them on or you don't. You're going to pitch to them, you pitch to them, you try to pitch around them, something bad will happen.
Ball one to Mason White.
This is not in defense of Corona, but I will say this. You know, youngsters in college, they learn behaviors like that.
White to center, Eddie Park drifting back. He'll make the catch, side retired, but the Wildcats get the homer. Emilio Corona propels the Cats back in front, 21-18 to the bottom of the 10th. One defensive change for the Wildcats with Corona being tossed from the game. Tyler Casagrande enters to play, take over in right field for Corona. Chris Barraza, who gave up the game-tying home run in the bottom of the 9th, stays out there. And Barraza will face the bottom of the order, Drew Bowser, Cole Hinkleman, Owen Cobb for Stanford.
Leading off the bottom of the 10th inning for Stanford, second baseman,
Well,
Drew Bowser.
hold on to your seats.
You saying this one's far from over?
Well, yeah, this game has been amazing. Buckle up.
Oregon State finishes off UCLA 21-5 as Bowser's fooled 0-1. The Beavers take 2 out of 3. This is the last game going in the Conference of Champions. 1-1 on Bowser, whose slam in the 8th inning helped bring Stanford back. He's 2 for 5 today. Just missed.
If there's any consolation to this inning for the Wildcats, it's that the Cardinal is at 7, 8, 9 in their lineup.
2-1 from Barraza. Bowser skies it. This will get out of play. And I think Drew Bowser swung at ball 3.
He did, Roxy, but that's the effect of somebody out there that can rush it up there at 94 to 97, right? It looks like you can hit it. It's just on you in a second. And yes, Barraza did give up the 3-run dinger to Rios, but when you watch the ball come out of this youngster's hand.
Bowser, chopper to short. Nick McClary fields, throws, got him.
That was not an easy play, folks. I mean, you know, Roxy's talked about Nick McClary as the best defensive player in the conference, but if we get another look at this, the last hop of this ball, Nick McClary made this play look much easier than it was. Take a look at this last hop. You see where he reads the last hop and he moves his feet backwards to be able to get himself in a position to field that ball. He just, what more can you say about it?
Pinch hitter for the Cardinal. This is Jake Sapien batting. Sophomore from Atwater. Stanford looking for base runners. The pitch, and Sapien fouls it back.
Sapien had been the normal, regular, everyday designated hitter recently.
Did he go? Wow. Yes, he did on appeal. Stephen Corby, the umpire down at first, said he swung, 2 gone. Stanford down to their last out, and it's Owen Cobb's job to keep it going for the Cardinal. Cobb is 0 for 5 today. And what a huge lift this would be if Arizona can finish it off. Put them back into the field and as the 9th team in the Pac-12 tournament with Cal. A tie with Cal, but Arizona has the tiebreaker over the Golden Bears. With 1 weekend to go, again, Arizona hosting USC next week. Washington State a half game in front of both the Bears and the Wildcats. And the Cougars will host Stanford in Pullman next weekend. Cal will be in Seattle to take on the Red Hot Huskies. And now Stanford down to their last strike.
Boy, this is just a machine out there. There's Barraza. I know he gave up the dinger, but what's coming out of his hand?
1-2 to Cobb. And he fights off the slider. So after the dramatics and Stanford tied it, Arizona with 2 outs in the top of the 10th. Emilio Corona launching one to put Arizona back in front. And now Chris Barraza trying to finish off Stanford, the Cardinal, here in this one. Liner to center, game's not done. Owen Cobb up the middle. Hit number 18 for Stanford. So Cobb is on. Eddie Park is the batter. He has walked 3 times and a homer today. Park 1 for 3. And the tying run is now on deck in Tommy Troy.
Well, see, here's that situation we're talking about, right? The Cats have a 3-run lead. I mean, Owen Cobb at first means nothing. You got the left-handed Park. I mean, Kiko Romero is probably going to be playing deep here.
Eddie Park flares it to left. Chase Davis racing over and in. Dives, can't get it. Owen Cobb stops at third. And a bloop double, and Eddie Park is on. And here comes the tying run for the Cardinal to the plate.
And remember we talked about that, right? About bringing outfielders in when you have a 3-run lead, right? Even though they might have some pop, but it's the bloopers, Roxy, that keep innings going. It's a great effort by Chase Davis.
Here comes Chip Hale. Rather, that's David Lawn, the pitching coach for Arizona. There is activity in the bullpen.
This could be animated. Could be. We'll keep an eye on them. But again, you got a 2-strike base hit on a real good job by Owen Cobb hitting, and then you got a dunker in the left field. So it's not like Barraza is getting shelled. But this right here, I think, is just going to be a pep talk, but a firm one.
David Lawn, pitching coach. There's a look into the Arizona pen. Keep in mind, Arizona will play at UC Irvine tomorrow. And they will be without Emilio Corona, who was thrown out of this game after being ejected for jawing at Ryan Bruno after his home run that gave Arizona the lead. Tommy Troy, 1 for 6 today, scored 2 runs.
Number 12, Tommy Troy.
Tommy Troy climbs in, facing Chris Barraza.
This identical situation that Rios came up. The last inning, right, because Arizona now is playing in no doubles.
95 to Tommy Troy for strike 1. Owen Cobb at third, Eddie Park at second.
Good pitch.
Slider 0-2, and again Stanford down to their last strike.
Barraza has had no trouble getting ahead.
Can he finish him off? Slider outside. One and 2 on Troy. 2 outs, bottom of the 10th, 21-18 Wildcats. Lays off the slider.
Well, Tommy Troy's had trouble with the breaking pitch today. when he has had trouble in the batter's box.
2-2. Slider, line drive, base hit. That'll score 2 into the alleyway. Cobb is in. Eddie Park scores. Mishandled in left center. Digging for 3. Tommy Troy dives in. (21-20). And the tying run is at third for Stanford in the bottom of the 10th with 2 outs.
Well, I tell you what. Great job by Tommy Troy getting the hit, but boy was that risky getting over to third base right there. He's already in scoring position at second base, and the Cats had a tremendous relay, and the throw from McClary made it real close. We'll get a look at Tommy Troy from the box here.
Carter Graham will be the batter. Chases the slider for strike 1 as Graham has 4 hits today.
Now you got to keep an eye on Tommy's flame behind the dish, right? We saw Arizona have some trouble with balls in the dirt in game 1. Really has to concentrate.
Carter Graham skies it, hooking. This one will be overrun. Davis made a great effort to try to get it.
Boy, did he go a long ways for that ball.
And Davis, slow to get up in the corner, appears to be okay. He covered a lot of ground and went tumbling into that corner. And one more time, and Stanford is down to their last out.
Now's where you want to buy some time for Chase Davis in left field if you're the pitcher, catcher, turn around, talk to the umpire.
So the 2-run triple, and Troy is at third.
Now we're ahead again. When I say we're if you're Arizona right now, it's 0-2. This is a situation in the game. We've seen this so much the entire game. 0-2, 1-2.
Second time this week Stanford has scored 20 runs in a game. Chased him, and the slider, and Barraza puts him away, and Arizona hangs on. Wow. Final score, Wildcats 21, Cardinal 20. In a heated, contested Mother's Day matchup on this Sunday afternoon.
Well, it's an amazing day. I mean, you mentioned, most importantly, it's Mother's Day, and it was a beautiful day, and we had some fireworks today here at Sunken Dime Klein Field, and it took a tremendous slider down and away from Chris Barraza to end this game, but wow is all I can say, Roxy.
And a huge win for Arizona. Stanford wrapped up the Pac-12 title yesterday. They're playing for seeding right now. Arizona needs wins to get into the Pac-12 tournament. It wasn't a must-win, but Wes, it was a game Arizona really needed.
Well, you can't say must. You're right. It wasn't a must-win, but it's a huge win for the Cats and the hopes to be in that Pac-12 tournament in 10 days from now. And boy, what a game.
Chris Barraza the winner. The loss to Ryan Bruno. Stanford hit 6 homers. Arizona hit 4. A Mother's Day spectacular goes extras. 21-20. Arizona knocks off Stanford. For Wes Clements, Jeff Butler, and our entire Pac-12 Network crew, Roxy Bernstein, so long.